kids, it's time to sit because Battleground Casual is on. Here's Aaron or Matt.
Just Aaron, which means we don't have to spend a minute doing a bit. Hey guys, welcome back to Battleground Casual. For anyone who checks us out, shout out to anybody who gets the weird reference that I put in the title. It's a movie that nobody should remember, but I remember it, so you know. But anyways, guys, welcome back. It's been a month since we were last here. This is going to be a bit more of an informal show, so I'm not going to bother doing a whole intro. I'm just going to go ahead and bring the panel in. I'll introduce him first because I know he takes pride in being a co-host, and despite the fact that I don't have a co-host tonight, I like pleasing people. So, Austin, welcome in, sir.
I'm a professional co-host, as you know, so happy to fill in if you need it. But I know we're not doing any news bits or anything or goofy conversation like that. But
this will actually be casual. So
yeah, no, that's fine. But I'll pretend like I'm a co-host tonight. How about that? So even though I don't have any power to do anything.
Absolutely. We'll go around. I'll just move the mouse to whoever's next. He is Knuff. Malcolm, welcome, sir.
I'm just excited to talk about some of these movies, and yeah.
All right. And Chris Diaz is here as well.
Hello. Excited to talk about some really good movies that are in my top 10. Yeah, so far. See what's coming up.
And Jordan Owens is here, sir.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi there. Ho there. Hey there.
All right, guys. I brought some people in who I know for sure see movies. I didn't actually check which movies they saw, but I know they see movies on the regular. So we brought them in for a discussion here. Unfortunately, Matt's not here tonight to be with us. Matt, for anyone who doesn't know, Matt's, well, I guess this is my side hustle, and this would be his side hustle. So his main side hustle is he has a football channel. And apparently on a Saturday night, there is a football game. So that's what he's doing right now. He's not here with us, unfortunately.
Foosball.
I have no idea why. But
you doing shows about the foosball behind my back?
It's the devil. Football is the devil.
All right, guys. So tonight we're going to be catching up on all the big movies that came out over the last month. The likes of The Last Voyage of the Demeter or Haunted Mansion or... no, sorry. We're going to talk about movies that actually matter to people. Last Voyage of the Demeter.
We're not going to talk about The Baker with Ron Perlman? I saw that movie.
The freaking Dated Sanctum.
I checked Box Office Mojo just now, and it said money made. It just said whatever Pez spent. That's literally what it said on Box Office Mojo.
And I used my Regal Unlimited, so nothing.
Yeah, it was at zero. Damn.
We paid out the price of that $12
My
ticket.
50-cent surcharge for online.
Yeah, 50 cents.
The Dracula movie, but everything that wasn't Dracula was good, and then Dracula just sucked.
Dracula sucks. Get it? Yeah. I don't know if you meant to make that joke.
Anybody else see Jules with Ben Kingsley besides me? No?
I wanted to.
Actually, one of my friends did and said good things, but I haven't. I don't think it was playing, actually. I don't think I could have.
It's all right.
I had plans to, and then I did something else. So, with that said, we're going to be talking about...
You can watch it on streaming. You're fine. It's good, but that's the one you don't need to see on the big screen. You're fine.
Fair enough. No, guys, so we're going to jump into it. We're going to be talking about 5 of the bigger films that came out over the last few weeks. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, as well as the likes of course, Barbenheimer, Mission Impossible, and Talk to Me, which are some of the films that have sort of, I say dominated the box office towards the end of August. Let's be real. The box office has been dominated by Barbenheimer and Sound of Freedom, and we will talk about Barbenheimer later. And Sound of Freedom, well, just saying it is going to bring audience members I don't know if I want here. So with that said, we're going to ignore that and go into Bye, Jordan. Yeah, they just pulled him away. We lost one, guys. We lost one. So we'll go ahead and jump into this. And we're going to go in reverse order here. So we're going to start with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Now, if I wasn't so tired, I had thought about committing to this bit where instead of introducing the films, I was just going to read the cast, because all of these films have an expansive cast, except for Talk to Me, which is probably mostly unknowns. But I'm too tired. Although Turtles is the film that introduces us to Paul Rudd as Mondo Gecko, which Yeah, shout out to Paul Rudd. So yeah, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm assuming only 3 of us have seen it. I know Malcolm hasn't seen it because it's not released internationally or that wide yet. Austin hasn't seen it, as he said many times before on the show. That animation style just doesn't jive with him.
And I know JPO saw it because John Cena does a voice in it, and he'll see anything with a wrestler. So,
I totally forgot that John Cena is.
He's Rocksteady.
Okay, hold on.
John Cena and Seth Rogen together.
I guess you didn't see him. But, that's because you can't see him.
He wasn't there.
No, hold on. I want to start with Cena though. Why was he the only person whose voice was modified in any way? Like, am I the only one who noticed that his voice felt like they fucked with it in post and put like a filter over it? But everybody else's sounds like natural.
Maybe it's for that particular character. I don't know.
I
I know what you're saying.
It's Bebop that Rogan plays, right? That's
Rocksteady. According to the thing, it's Rocksteady. Bebop is Seth Rogen.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So like Seth Rogen as Bebop just sounds like Seth Rogen. Like there's nothing. But it sounds like they put a filter over Cena's voice or something to make it deeper than it already is. And I didn't understand that. I mean, the movie's already unintelligible enough at times as is. We have 2 strong accented Australian women in this cast, so we're struggling anyway. No, I'm kidding. But Jordan, I'll throw it to you, sir. I guess
we got too many Australian people in that Talk to Me movie. We don't need it in our Turtles movie.
Hey.
I don't know. Yeah, Jordan, I'll go to you first. We'll talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'll go to you first, Jordan. What were your thoughts on the film?
As a kind of give or take Turtles fan, I think some people really have member glasses on for the first couple that are not that great. Calm down, they're fantastic movies.
Easy there, Jordan. Focus on the new one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're talking about the new one. Sorry. This could arguably be the best TMNT movie we've had yet. Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry, compared to what we've had so far. I don't want to totally say that yet because I am someone that likes to kind of sleep on things and give like a rewatch down the line. But I don't know, man. I like this animation style. I really like the rapport these guys had. They're very much teenagers. I think for the first time ever, I really felt the real teenage vibe between them. I enjoyed the villain. I think it's the best villain we've also kind of had. I think it's a fun villain by Ice Cube. And I thought it went by pretty nicely, man. Like, it's not in my top 10 of any means, but I had a decent amount of fun with this one.
Yeah, Chris?
Yeah, I loved it. I saw this, but not very low expectation. We saw the reviews were pretty good, and I wasn't sure what to think. But pleasantly surprised. I thought it was very funny, very dark humor in it. Especially with one of a bunch of jokes. It's really dark. The villain was great. Jackie Chan, shout out to him. I was not expecting him to be a great Master Splinter, but he stole the movie. He was hot. Him and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were hot and soul of this movie. Their chemistry, their relationship was really good. I love April, voiced by Ao, I forget how you say her name, who had a really good year that year with the Bear, Cheetah Camp, and now Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Yeah, it's a great cast. I love the backstory a little bit, a little tongue-in-cheek a little bit, with Jackie Chan a little bit. But yeah, everything was great. I enjoyed every moment of it, and I hope it does well because I'll re-spoil it. The hint of Shredder at the end got me really excited. Not knowing that he did be the assassin high at the end. And I hope they find somebody really good for Shredder. And they've been pretty spot on with the voice casting so far.
I'm sure they will. Seth Rogen has a lot of connections in the industry. I'm sure he'll pull somebody out.
Anybody know what the budget was? So the budget was what, $70 million? It's crossed 100 globally so far, from what I saw from a day or two ago. So
I read a report the other day. They're expecting this movie to do insane amounts of they're expecting this movie's merchandising sales to do so much that they've said they're going to make their money back on that alone. That the box office is almost bonus.
Right, but at least it crossed 100 so far. So that's
it's doing very solidly. And as we said, it's not open in every market yet. Malcolm, of course, down in New Zealand hasn't gotten it. I'm sure Australia hasn't gotten it yet either. So there's a lot of international markets that they still have to open in. So yeah, the movie's doing very, very solidly overall. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This movie falls into a group of animated films this year. There's a few of them. I put Elemental in there. I put Nimona in there as well. Of movies that would receive more recognition if Spider-Verse didn't come out this year, because I think that movie is such an achievement in animation that it's going to overshadow most anything else, especially something like this that's very directly inspired by it. That said, I'm on the same page as Jordan. I've seen all but the third original film because I've just heard that movie so bad I have no interest in going back to it. I'll get all the trivia questions I want wrong on it.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. But with that said, I think this may legitimately be the best one. I do like the 90s one. I don't think it's aged brilliantly, but I do like it for what it is. It's got charm, certainly, with the puppetry. But this cast, like, and the decision, and it's a great decision on Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, and director Jeff Rowe to redo a lot of the recording for the film with the kids, because they recorded all the lines separately. They began editing the film and then realized that it wasn't working. So they brought the kids in together and had them re-record a lot of it and have them play off each other and really interact. And they feel like brothers and they feel like kids in this film because of it. It's like, especially when you compare it to the 2014 film, which I also think did a good job with the Turtles' personalities. It's just so much more natural here, and I think it really works. The various celebrities that are in this, Maya Rudolph, John Cena, Seth Rogen, Rose Byrne, Giancarlo Esposito, Jackie Chan, Ice Cube, Paul Rudd, Post Malone, Hannibal Buress. They're all good for what they're given. Some are better than others. Some are just, they're so small in it that it doesn't really matter. It feels like the cast is that big because it was a cool marketing gimmick to put all the names on the poster. But that said, it's not like anyone gives a bad vocal performance. I just don't think a lot of them add anything to it. I think people like Maya Rudolph and Giancarlo Esposito are kind of wasted for how much they're in it. It feels like you could have just gotten a voice actor to do it. I don't think you needed to have some big name voice those characters. I don't know. It's a movie where, and that's why I said we'll do it first because it won't take as long. Like, it's just a lot of fucking fun, but I don't think there's a lot to really say about it because it is a lot of fun. And Rogen said like his plan is they want to do a trilogy of films. They want to also, they're going to be developing a TV show for Paramount Plus, and the plan is for the show to be in continuity with the film, so you can sort of go between the two and follow the story of these turtles growing up. And I think it's a really cool idea. I hope it continues to be as fun as this. I don't know. Like, there's nothing deep about this movie. It is just that fun. My two biggest, I don't have a lot of exceptional praise for it outside of the animation looking great. And my two criticisms of it are nitpicks at best. While I think she's a good voice actress, it's just a little weird to me, especially seeing it a second time, that Ayo Edebiri's voicing April O'Neil, because they got legitimate teenagers to voice all the kids, but then got a grown-ass woman to voice April O'Neil. And that doesn't affect the film at all. Like, if you don't know that, you wouldn't realize it. It's just weird to me that, like, why wouldn't you just go out and get an actual teenage actress and also put her in the room with these kids? I just feel like that would have made a little bit more sense. And then aside from that, this movie, of the four films I've seen, because I've not seen Talk to Me, of the 5 films we're going to talk about tonight, this movie had easily the worst joke of any of them. Which is, I'm sure you two don't care about spoilers on a joke in a film, but there's a scene, it's during an action sequence where Ice Cube's character, Superfly, breaks open the door of a van the turtles are driving and he's quoting, I think it's an Ice-T song he's quoting. He says, 6 a.m, police at my door. And it's just a weird, like, it's in one of the trailers, and it's a weird out of place line there, and it's even weirder in the film.
I thought you were going to talk about the Chris Pine, the celebrity thing. That's what it is.
I mean, that joke was whatever. But, like, the only reason I'm bringing up this specific joke is just if anybody who watches this can comment in the comments and make it make sense to me. Because it's not even an Ice Cube lyric. Like, it's one thing if they just had him randomly recite
his lyrics and not Ice-T, the other Ice rapper.
It's one thing if they had him recite his own lyrics.
Well, and also he's not a
citing-
police officer, so how does that make sense in the context of the scene?
But like
Yeah.
even the one at 6 a.m, police at my door, but he's the one breaking into their van. So he was at the door. I literally, the first time I saw it, I legitimately sat there in the theater confused for a minute as to just what the joke was here. Like, because he quotes other rap lines throughout the film. Like, it's just the thing with the character, I think, because it's Ice Cube voicing him. And most of them make enough sense. This one is just confundingly confusing. Like, seriously, if anyone who watches this can make sense of that to me in the comments or the live chat, please try, because I genuinely don't understand what the point of the joke was. It's so confusing. That said, though, great film. Check it out. It's one bad joke in a movie. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. Also, Austin, obviously, specifically talking about your animation thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's your choice if you do. I don't know if I wouldn't recommend going to a theater unless you use your Regal thing for it, but animation's not as intense as Spider-Man, so there's a chance it may work.
Even then, I just decided I'll wait for it when it comes on Paramount Plus, because I'm sure it will. So I have Paramount. I'll probably watch it when it just comes on Paramount and just wait. Just because I didn't have that much interest in the movie anyways, just because of the new take of them being like legitimately kids, like, and not feeling like, I like a little more of the grown-up stuff. I am a fan of the 1991, so I'm a big fan of that movie. But I also grew up with that one, so I mean, it's a nostalgia thing. So I'll give it a shot when it comes out on Paramount. But as far as the theater, probably not. I didn't want to risk it and waste my time.
No, that's fair.
Drive to the theater.
I think. Again, not being you, I don't know the severity of how it affects you, but I think you'll have a much easier time with this than
I'm getting old, man. I can't ride roller coasters like I used to, man. It's bad, man. I go to Universal every Halloween Horror Nights, and I can't even go on Rip Ride Rocket anymore. I get headaches. I can't go on the Harry Potter Hogwarts, hold on. The ride inside the damn castle, because it gives me motion sickness. I'm motion sickness in my old age, man. Come on.
I'm 23 and I can't ride Rip Ride Rocket. That ride's a fucking death trap, dude.
Yeah, it kills my neck. But I mean, even the Harry Potter thing, it gives me motion sickness. I take the non-drowsy Dramamine, and it doesn't do shit for me. I'm getting old, man. I'm getting to. Now I understand, Aaron, why adults just want to go watch the shows, because it doesn't make you sick. So I'm becoming that guy where it's I'm going to go watch the horror makeup show 9 times in a row in the air conditioning, because that's fun. So yeah, I'm getting old, man. I'm 37.
At the very least, Halloween Horror Nights is a great excuse to go to a theme park and not have to avoid most of those rides, because they are
right. Yeah, so I could just do haunted houses all night and not go on the rides. But it's rough, man. I wake up with neck cramps and back pain and motion sickness, and man, I'm getting old, man. It's starting to hit me.
I used to get those from the benches at Barney. Those things.
Oh, dude, go back in time and watch me at Universal when I was 16, just ride all these roller coasters 90 times in a row, and I can't do that anymore. It's unfortunate. It's all in the backseat now. Yeah. Oh well, what are you gonna do?
All right. Well, speaking of haunted houses, not that this is about a haunted house, but transition. We'll go ahead and move on from Turtles.
Yeah.
Check out. I'm going to say this about every film tonight. Even Talk to Me, which I haven't seen because I've heard such good things. Check out the movie. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it, go enjoy it, or see it when you can if it's not released to you yet. But we'll go ahead and jump over to Talk to Me, which is of course the A24 kind of hit of the summer. It's their kind of big box office success. Directed by, I believe it's pronounced the Philippou brothers. Did I say that right?
The Philippou brothers, yeah, something like that.
Who are a pair of Australian brothers who originally began as YouTubers, making short films and various things of the likes, who financially independently produced this film, and then it was sold for distribution to A24 in the U.S. And they were able to get this on a pretty damn wide release. The movie's done really well at the box office. As I've said before, I'm not a horror guy, so there's a reason I didn't see this, but it's one of the ones I do want to check out once it's out of theaters, because I've heard such good things. But that said, Austin, I'll turn it over to you first. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's not like a gory, over-the-top horror movie to where I think it'll, gross you out or anything like that. It's definitely more psychological. There's some imagery, some disturbing imagery where you do see brief glimpses of, the dead folks and things like that. But, yeah, it's more of, a kind of a psychological thing for the most part. But, yeah, it's definitely definitely for me the strongest horror movie I've seen so far this year. And yeah, I was looking forward to it from the trailers. A24 horror can be very hit or miss with me. I haven't loved everything they put out horror wise. It's you either get like a Midsommar or Hereditary or Talk to Me, or you get a Ghost Story, which is not even really a horror.
It's not a horror.
Yeah, I know, but like it's a ghost movie, and like you get shit like that. And pretentious. You get Lamb, which is like not a great movie that pretends it's like it's a horror movie that markets itself as a horror movie, but is trash. Like so it can be real hit or miss with them. But because they just are distributing the movie,
Comes at Night A24.
Yeah, that movie's not good either. Like that's a blue balls movie if I ever saw one. But yeah, like. So, but at least they just picked this up, and yeah, these guys do have a background in horror and making like short films on YouTube. So, getting a chance to do this is really cool. I think it's got a great concept. Yeah, it's definitely it's a case of, as John Marr put it, I think on one of his shows, it's a teens fuck around and find out kind of movie, which is which is definitely what it is. Yeah, they turn this very serious thing about you being able to channel dead people and them kind of possessing you for a short period of time into a party TikTok kind of game. They're filming it with their phones. They're playing around with it on social media. Nobody believes them until they do it. But I think it gets serious. When it gets serious, it gets very serious. But when it's playful at the beginning, it feels like a natural, playful things with these teenagers kind of treating it like I said, like a party game, sort of a thing, and goofing around. But then it gets taken too far, obviously, with an incident that happens in the movie. I won't go into too many. I mean, I guess the spoilers, but
no spoiler. Go ahead.
There's a thing where the main character, the girl, again, it's all Australian actors. They're pretty unknown, but she goes beyond. They have kind of a time limit they try to stay to of like a minute or 90 seconds, and she goes beyond that and kind of gets possessed. And then her friend or her brother, boyfriend, whatever. Yeah, the brother, the younger one, gets it, and he gets possessed to the point where he kind of
that's his nose against it.
Yeah, he damn near beats himself to death, like slamming his head on a table and the walls and stuff. It gets put in the hospital. So there's a situation there, and it kind of strains a lot of the family relationships in the movie. But yeah, and it just kind of goes from there. She's seeing her mother, who there's a backstory there with the father where you're not sure about it. But yeah, I just thought it was really creative in the way it did it. It got serious when it needed to get serious, and it's funny when it needs to be funny. But not too much. And I just thought it had a really creative ending as well. Like, I think the ending is really interesting and definitely opens itself up for not as far as like that person continuing their story, but they've already talked about they've already greenlit a sequel to keep going with sort of this mythology. And I definitely think with this hand thing, there's definitely a mythology you can build as far as like where that thing came from, where it goes from.
How many hands are there out there?
Yeah, how many? Yeah, are there more of them? How many are out there? Yeah, and it's just a really cool concept of like you never know what you're going to see or who you're going to see specifically when you kind of channel it, when they do the talk to me thing, like who's going to show up in front of you. Yeah, it could be a family member, it could be a stranger, it could be anything. But yeah, a really creative movie. I very much enjoyed it and thought it was very refreshing as far as horror movie goes. So.
Yeah, and for anyone who didn't know, the movie, so the directors have already said, so A24 has already greenlit a sequel. It'll be titled Talk to Me, the number 2.
I kind of don't like this trend of putting the 2 as a 2 with like Coming to America as well, because then it's like, which Talk to Me? Oh no, Talk to Me. No, Talk to Me. Talk to Me. Like, stop that.
Trivia.
I ranted about them doing Candyman, Scream, text. Like, stop this. Like, just make it Talk to Me : something, or Talk to Me 2. Just Talk to Me 2. Like, whatever.
Talk to me.
Talk to Me Too, and then you can incorporate the Me Too movement.
No, that's Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, right.
No, so they are developing a sequel to it. Same writer, same directors returning. There's also a prequel that's already been shot.
Sort of.
Yeah, so they shot a prequel film that they originally intended to be used as marketing. for the film. Then they decided against it because the film is shot in a found footage mode, and they were worried that using it as marketing would make people think that the film is a found footage movie, which it's obviously not. And then I believe they did begin uploading some of it to the internet once the film had come out. If you want to hear more details about it, I know
I have to go look up.
one of the directors went on Chris Stuckman's podcast, and he goes into it a little bit about what happened with it. So they began uploading some of it, and then it got taken down because of content. So they're planning to edit it into a more proper film and release it. As to how official a film it is, how wide a release it gets, if it's even a theatrical thing.
I could see them just putting that on like a streaming service.
Feature? Like a Blu-ray or something.
Yeah, or like adding it with a Blu-ray or something. Because I don't know if because apparently it has to do with the opening scene. There's an opening sequence that's kind of separate from the rest of the movie, and apparently it has to do with like everybody filming it on their phones or some things around that night on their phones and stuff, and some crazy things that happened that night, and that's sort of what the prequel's about. But yeah, it looks like it's kind of similar to what happened with X and Pearl, where it's like X came out and became like an underground hit, and he's like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, I already filmed this Pearl prequel, and it's coming out like now, like I said, in a couple of months, and I've already written Maxine, so yeah, this could be a new thing where they said they'd pretty much already written the sequel because they were writing a sequel as they kind of went as well, because there's so many places you can go, so they pretty much already have a script as well, so now it's green that they're going to do it, but yeah, I don't know, I think that prequel I would be okay with them either putting it on a streaming service just out there as a supplemental thing, or just adding it to the Blu-ray as like a supplemental thing. I think would be cool. I don't think it needs to be a theatrically released thing. Just stick to the sequel. That's just what I would do if I was they want my 2 cents.
Because then they have to come up with another way to make the words "talk to me" a different type of. Jordan, we'll go down to you next before we lose you again temporarily. What were your thoughts on "talk to me"?
Yeah, this suddenly became the busiest hour in my life unexpectedly. No, this was one of, if not the biggest surprise of the year for me, because I wasn't necessarily unsold by the trailer. I wasn't really sold either. You know what I mean? It's very much, I'll wait and see. And like, it was word of mouth that made me go, okay, I'm going to bump this up on the watch list and actually kind of get to it in the theaters. Because otherwise I might have waited. And yeah, I think it really worked out. It kind of reminded me of It Follows, as far as like even like the first of everything that happens. It's kind of like to a side character, to kind of like give you a little bit of a taste of like the horrors to come. I think it was smart, not smart. It was actually probably just because of budget, but because of it's kind of an unknown cast to us. Like I think it kind of that also really works because you're kind of sucked into these characters and what's happening. And yeah, the scares worked. I was really with it for most of it. Don't totally love the wrapped up. I love the ending. I don't love the last sequence, but I actually do love the ending. So that also won me over as well. So yeah, I dug this. This isn't like my top 10 or 15 right now. I like this a lot. We were still talking about Talk to Me, right? I missed
yeah. No, we're talking about Talk to Me. Yes.
Like, wow, you like Meg 2 a lot.
No, you're the only person who saw Meg 2 and had that conclusion.
I didn't even see it.
I've seen it too.
I saw Meg 2 and it stinks. Yeah, it's terrible. So no, we're good. Yeah. No,
all right, Malcolm, go ahead. Talk to me.
Yeah.
With the pose, it's kind of like upwards, right? It's like a little.
Yeah, it's like kind of like this. Yeah.
I let you in.
But very quickly, Austin referenced Lamb, so I have to mention this. If you want a better human sheep hybrid horror movie, watch New Zealand's horror company Black Sheep. It's
I know you keep telling me to. I'll get around to it eventually. I know, Malcolm. I know.
Why are there 2 of those? Yeah. Why do 2 of these exist? I feel like if somebody made another film like Titan, like why would you do this twice?
Yeah.
But anyway, I had no idea what to expect. We're going in to Talk to Me. Like one of my friends asked before to go see it. I was like, sure. I barely saw a trailer for this, and like the only recognizable actress that you people would know, Miranda Otto, is she plays the mother of one of the girls, and apparently the person that's playing Haley is going to be in the upcoming Ironheart series. So they're going to be in some other things coming up, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like, this is just one of those movies which, without really knowing too much about it, it was really surprising by how creepy it was and how much stupidity these people could give. Like you see this here, it's like, you know what? Let's use it and see if this actually happens. And then I think when it got to the point, it's like, you know what? I think the best way to do it to maybe stop this is use it again.
Pull out the freaking candle.
Yeah, keep using it. We'll see if we can fix it.
But yeah, this is just really fun. Like, there's a reason that like everyone's talking about this. Like, there was even an article that came out by Variety, which was talking about various directors, and like Peter Jackson is one of the people that, like Peter Jackson, sort of said it's one of the most intense movies that horror movies he's seen in years as well. Like, he's made a few of those in his day as well. And yeah, I wish I had the money, because there's this company called Umbrella Entertainment that's releasing a special limited edition collector's edition of Talk to Me, and you actually get a polystyrene hand, and you get a mark so you can put your own words and whatnot on that hand, whatever you want.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it costs a lot of money. No, I was going to mention one of the things that works for the intensity is, and I promise I'll let you go, Chris. I'm sorry, but I as far as, again, you see one or two of the dead people that they see like quickly, but it's like more startling because you only see like a brief second. Most of the movie, you see their reaction to it, but you don't see what they're seeing. So it's like that kind of leave it to your imagination thing where they grab it, they say, talk to me, and holy shit, oh my God, oh shit. Like, you know, and they kind of let it go. And then it's like, oh my God. Like, so it's more of this psychological thing of sometimes it's better, and not all horror movies need to be like this, but sometimes for certain horror movies, leaving what's to your imagination as far as what's going on the other side is scarier than like anything they could actually show you. Because the dead people you do see are disturbing. They're kind of rotted and you know, decayed a little bit and things like that. I know they had a limited budget, so they can't do it like a whole lot and get really crazy. But yeah, in that case, there's a smart way to do it of just seeing the people, the person's reactions and how startled they get and things like that. And I think it's a really smart tactic they use in the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of why I wish that they did that with Cloverfield. Like, you never saw the monster at all.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, I went to this movie. I think I've seen the trailer once, so I went based on word of mouth, kind of similar to last year when I did with Barbarian, just hearing what people were saying. I haven't seen that much marketing. I freaking love this movie. I thought it was one of the most cleverest, scary, unique horror movie I've seen in a while. That kind of doesn't have a lot of jump scares, but I really appreciate that it let the subtlety to it. Then they're like, boom, jump scare every couple of minutes or so. I mean, that scene along with the brother, like, smacking his nose against the table, and that whole scene is, like, the most horrifying moment. And Alex, you probably agree, that's when they show briefly the other side, like, you know, where the brother is. Like, that's scary.
Yeah.
I mean,
I said enough brief glimpses to get your imagination going as far as like, you know, what's going on. And again, it kind of gets, you know, you get a glimpse of it, but sometimes a glimpse is all you need to kind of get under your skin. And yeah, because if you show too much of it, it almost ruins the effectiveness of it if you saw something pop out every 2 seconds. But it works for the montage that you're just seeing a series of reactions rather than just seeing one dead person after another. You know, you're just seeing these quick reaction. Oh shit! Because they're playing party music during one of the sequences. You know, it's kind of a fun scene, and then it gets serious, obviously later. But
I think it's first time that maybe like the earliest Scream movie where you actually get a bunch of good teenage actors that really
they're all good.
Good performances. Right, I really appreciate it. The main actress is amazing. Everybody's giving really good performance. The mother's really good at it too. Like that scene alone when she talking to her to the end, saying, you know, I was angry at you, but I want you to be here. Like a sweet moment before all hell breaks loose. And I thought the ending was effective. It's probably my top 10 favorite ending of the year for any movie. I thought the ending was scary, intense, and just horrifying ending that leave you there just thinking. like afterward.
Yeah, no, what happens now? Yeah, and see more. Yeah, and we probably won't see more of that. Obviously, the sequel will move on to whoever takes possession of it next. You know,
Yeah.
the hand from there. But yeah,
What happened to the people after?
yeah, I definitely think there's an like I would be okay with a sequel again, moving on to a different set of characters. Like we just move on to we just follow the hand rather than following the people, and just kind of see where it ends up. Because again, you could go any number of directions with this as a almost like a better version of Annabelle, where we're following Annabelle around. But I don't like
better version Insidious, but by not showing the other side,
not showing it too much, just enough, but not too much, and just dive too much to where the explanations get stupid. Yeah, like the Red Door.
I wouldn't be surprised if the sequel starts off from the people that we saw at the end of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the beginning of this film, where they're showing like
the ending of like a previous encounter with the hand, or where that ended up, and then we just move on to another one. Yeah, almost like a Bond movie where we start with like the end of a mission and then we jump into another mission, sort of a thing. But yeah, Aaron, it's definitely worth your time. Like I think it's more of a psychological horror film rather than like a gory splatter movie or anything. So I think you would dig it. It's really good. So
there's some good gore though too.
I can handle weird intense imagery. I've seen Infinity Pool. I think I can get through this. But
did you like Infinity Pool?
I did. I liked it. It's
my least favorite Mia whatever movie. So
Infinity Pool to me, without going too deep into it, it was because I've always liked the idea of David Cronenberg, but I'm like the body horror stuff is just not something I'm big into, so I can't really get into a lot of his films, even the good ones, just because I respect the craft, but it doesn't work. His son seems much more obsessed with like the mental fuckery than like the actual literal physical fuckery. Although that said, there's a lot of physical fuckery.
I think Possessor is pretty interesting. I didn't like this one too much,
that, but I enjoyed Infinity Pool. It won't make my top 20 at the end of the year, but I did enjoy it for what it was.
It's my bottom 30.
Oh,
fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I was shocked I did like it. I kind of watched it half expecting to hate it, but I enjoyed it. That said, though, I'm a simpleton when it comes to horror. My favorite horror film this year that I have seen is Scream 6, so it doesn't take.
Fun flick, man. Basic, Aaron. Jeez.
Fun flick, man. Top 15. It's fun flick.
Yeah.
All right.
Better teenage performance than Scream 6.
Speaking of basic, unless anybody has anything else to throw in about Talk to Me, or you guys feel good about that?
Nah, we're good. Yeah,
we're good.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on.
Speak for me. He's right. Don't speak.
We'll go ahead and move on to the most basic films of the summer, because everybody saw them and then saw them again and then may have seen them again based on the box office totals for these movies. We're going to talk about Barbenheimer, more specifically Barbie and Oppenheimer. We're going to do both back to back, so one spoiler banner makes sense there. But where do you guys want to start? We're going to go Barbie first or Oppenheimer?
I don't mind either way.
I mean, I'm easy either way, so.
You could do it in order that they call it Barbenheimer, so start with Barbie, I guess. I don't know.
It's the order I saw it in, too. I did do the Barbenheimer double feature.
Yeah, I did Barbie first and
I didn't do the double because I saw Oppenheimer with my dad a couple of days later. We went down to an IMAX that was like an hour away and saw it. But I will say,
Dad and Barbie.
I want to say this about the box office though, real quick. So the opening weekend obviously was nuts. I go back to the theater the next week on like a Thursday to either watch Talk to Me or Haunted Mansion. It might have been on the same day, whatever it was. And like I go back into the lobby after one of them, and the lobby is still just jam packed with like pink everywhere. I mean, the second weekend, the third weekend, I went back, pink everywhere still, like on a Friday night, whatever it was. I mean, this movie is. I haven't seen my theater, the Regal I go to, like this crazy in a long time, like for a movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like for any kind of weekends. Like it's definitely something.
Yeah, when I saw them both back to back, they were both pretty much almost sold out.
Like, Oppenheimer was sold out.
Opening weekend,
Yeah, when I saw it.
Yeah, because Barbie's been number one like last 4 weeks, isn't?
Yes,
it might be number one again.
Maybe.
Internationally, I think it was beaten this weekend by a Chinese film, but domestically, it's been number one for the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Apparently, Blue Beetle's giving it some stiff competition, though. Blue Beetle, like, not that we're talking about it now, obviously, but I have to say, as a box office guy who's done the segment on box office most of our shows, shout out to Blue Beetle. At one point, they were suggesting that film could make $12 million in total over the entire weekend. Between Thursday previews and Friday showtimes, it made $10 million. So kudos to Blue Beetle. It's picked up its audience from somewhere.
Someone who's seen already, it's a really good movie to check out.
I mean, based on that, I'm not that surprised, just because it's a new movie coming out. Barbie's been been out for a while now. So.
Yeah, but I'm more shocked at the fact that it may legitimately. If it opens well, it has a chance at contending as DC's most successful film this year. It will not take very much to beat Flash. So.
I just think because people
or
said it was
Shazam
good,
2.
that's why word of mouth is.
Oh, it'll beat Shazam. It'll probably beat Shazam 2.
Yeah, right.
I think mostly because everybody say it's a decent movie, so that's why people are now checking that out. Then
that's my least favorite of those three. But yeah,
pivot the topic back to Barbenheimer.
Thank you, Malcolm.
I'm not, but it's more a point I was going to make. Began to Barbenheimer. Both those movies proved you don't need $300 million to make a movie.
Yeah.
Because those movies have made profit, and you would think and neither of them are connected to a franchise. Like with Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones, they're all 300 plus budgets. They barely did anything at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if this summer has taught studios anything, it's they need to get their budgets back down, because it's the most beautiful form of irony that all these films that have these big bloated budgets, and I mean everything from the $300 million films at Mission Impossible or Indiana Jones to the what was it, $50 million or something they spent on No Hard Feelings just to get Jennifer Lawrence in it, paying her full rate to show up. All of these films have been overspending, and it's the films that were reasonably budgeted, like Barbie, like Oppenheimer, Spider-Verse being made for $100 million. These movies that were actually reasonably budgeted are turning huge profits.
Talk to me,
because that's all. Talk to me's low budget, but just get your money under control.
Gran Turismo is coming out. I think that only costs 90 or 100, so that's not going to totally break their bank. I mean, I feel like that movie could cost 50 or 60. They probably could have got that down a little bit.
You just got to watch out. Unless you're a proven commodity,
I feel like
Flash wasn't proven,
Yeah.
I feel like part of the reason that Gran Turismo only costs that much is because of the practical stunts. Crashing cars is not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get the real life person to do most of your stunt work, that's something.
Yeah. But
that's how you save money.
Well, I'm just saying that means Gran Turismo has a better chance of being a hit, just because it's got a much more modest budget. You know what I mean? We're missing these. And I've seen a lot of articles about this too. These modest budget, you can make a movie. Deadpool costs $50 million. You could do it. It's possible. It's possible to have a movie that can look good, that can be good, that can have pizzazz to it a little bit, for under 100. You can do it. You just gotta the bloating is insanity. And these movies that are costing I mean, look at Insidious, cost what, 20-30 million bucks, and it made over 100. That movie, granted, most horror movies, modestly budget horror movies, will usually make a profit. Usually, even the bad ones usually have a decent weekend and will make money. But studios can learn from horror movies. You can have a movie that still looks good and is creative and still be profitable. They don't have to blow up the box office and make $1 billion. You can make a bunch of modestly budget profitable films and be successful. I mean,
and the thing is, when you look at the totals, we'll go back to Barbenheimer in a minute, but I think it's worth talking about the box office. When you look at a lot of these films, they have grossed good totals. Mission Impossible is on its way to, I think it's on its way to 600 million. It may not get there, but it's on its way to it right now worldwide. That's a good number for that franchise.
Fast X made 750. The problem was that also cost $300 million.
That's the thing is, making 600 million, making 750 worldwide, that should be enough to turn a profit for you. Yes. But you're spending so much money on these movies, and then when you add in the fact that basically all of them are pumping $100 million in the marketing, some even more. I think Indy's marketing budget was higher than that. You cannot spend this much money and expect to make anything unless you're making $1 billion. And I mean, Matt and I got into it weeks ago before the movie even came out on the show, but I called it way in advance. No one should have expected Indiana Jones to make nearly that much money. They should not have spent that much money on this movie.
And I mean, when you compare Indiana Jones to the other ones, like the budget,
It's worse.
Well, I mean, it's one of those ones like the first few, like they were about like between $50 to $70, like, and like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was about almost 200, but like that wasn't that as bad as the most recent one.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those ones like. Part of me is wondering, like, especially with Fast X and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, because I think those budgets. It's hard to tell if those budgets are specifically for that first part or if it's sort of. Because I know that, I mean, it's one of those tricky things. So, they're both two-part movies. So yeah.
I was going to say, Dead Reckoning in particular. The reason its box office is so big is because of all the production issues it had connected to COVID. They had to shut down multiple times. And the thing that people are forgetting is that budget should be higher because there are things that Tom Cruise paid for out of pocket personally for that film that are not in that production budget. For example, I think it was Norway they were shooting in. The entire time they shot in Norway, like per the legal rules because of COVID, they were not allowed to live in the country because they were outsiders who were going to be coming and going. And so Cruise paid out of pocket, separate from the production budget, for a giant live-in yacht for the entire cast and crew to live on for the duration of time they were there, which included a 2-week extra shutdown because people got COVID. Yeah. So like, so much money was spent on this film because Cruise just wouldn't let them break and figure it out and come back. He needed everyone to stay there. And unfortunately, and again, like with Mission Impossible, they couldn't have foreseen what Barbenheimer was going to do. Nobody thought it was going to do nearly as much money as it did. They're just an unfortunate victim in all of this.
It was a gimmick that worked, but it was one of those gimmicks that actually took off, and like people got kind of into it. And I saw articles where people who hadn't even been back to the theaters since COVID were coming out for Barbenheimer. Like it was just because they were getting swept up in the match. And I'm sorry, Saw Patrol is not going to take off. Stop trying to make Saw Patrol a thing. Look,
is that a thing?
I'm running that freaking trailer for everything.
People try to make it.
Heard that.
People are trying to make it a thing, and as a Saw fan, as a part of the Saw community, we're not going to make that happen. I'm sorry.
How about this, Austin? How about this? On is it September 29th, right?
Yeah.
On Friday, September 29th, you go see Saw. I'll go see Paw Patrol, and we'll come here and we'll do it.
Cool, sounds good. Because I'm not watching. No, Saw fans.
I
can tell you from the perspective of a Saw fanatic, we're not going to watch Paw Patrol that weekend.
I don't want to see it either, but Chris is wrong. Pay me $100. I'll see whatever the hell you want me to see.
If I'm getting paid, I'll go sit through a whole. I'll sit through Saw.
Yeah, of course. Oh fuck it, yeah, I'll see it. But I mean, like,
it's the jump scare. It's the jump scare.
I have the Regal Unlimited, and I'm still.
I will see Saw. We're not paying money to go see freaking Paw Patrol.
No, I'm not going to watch Paw Patrol. That's not for me. I don't give a shit. Like that's not.
I don't have to pay money. So
stop trying to. Yeah, no,
that's different because like these are both good movies. At the end of the day, even if you don't love them, these are both good. As Paw Patrol is definitely for one niche.
It's for two niches. It's for people with children and people who like children.
Yeah, it's pretty much like
Nickelodeon. Do not scratch that niche.
Yeah. Nickelodeon did one for you, one for us. They gave a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle for the people who.
No, that's fair. I'm not saying the movie shouldn't come out. I mean, like they should make movies like that. I just don't have to see them. We'll have to see it. I hope I don't have to see it.
I mean, let's face it, there's probably going to be some random parents that are going to take their kids to Saw.
That's when my niece spends time with grandpa because uncle's busy that day.
What Saw Patrol is going to be is original Saw fans who are now parents are hopefully going to be responsible parents and send their kids to Paw Patrol while they go watch Saw. Because unless Saw is following the trend of a franchise film being 2.5 hours, they should be about.
Did we just create a new app? Pay me to watch your kids during kids movies while you go see an adult movie.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Ooh, I think we just created a new app, y'all. Trademark.
That just goes back to if I get paid to go watch Paw Patrol, I'll do it. I'm gonna have to listen to kids bitch in that theater anyways. So
Well, I mean, you're not gonna. I'm not.
Can you
gonna
quiet
pay
your
attention.
kid? Not my kid getting paid. He can do whatever he wants.
I mean, I'm not paying attention to the movie anyway. So who gives a shit? I'll be on my Reddit the whole
It's
time.
the
I
same
don't
way
care.
with like
Yeah.
I thought
I'll get a seat in the back.
of freaking Paw Patrol and Troll whatever the new one called. I'm like, yeah.
Trolls sooner or later I will see because that I can get through. It's songs, a couple good laughs.
Oh, yeah, there is a third Trolls.
Yeah, it sounds like
maybe.
Like,
Dude, the
Don't
fucking that trailer for
breaks up?
that Trolls movie gave me a goddamn migraine. I can't imagine sitting through 90 minutes of that shit. I was just like,
90
calm
minutes.
the
I
fuck
could not
down.
sit through the first section.
Jesus. That is ADD central as that damn trailer, and I've seen it about
Wait,
5
no,
times.
go
now.
back
I
to
one
Bucky
time
Barnes.
said it was eye candy or eye porn for kids, and someone was like, "Don't
Yeah.
say those words together."
Although-
I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. Like, it's literally just like, "Oh my god, look at those visuals!" And there's
Apparently
songs that I
Trolls
know.
3
Yay!
Apparently, Trolls 3 is going to have an all-new NSYNC song for the first time.
Okay, is it wrong that now I'm excited?
They sing one in the trailer.
Honestly,
Yeah.
my favorite part about Trolls, like when I realized it was a thing and I looked it up, is I love the idea that in this universe, Justin Timberlake, Troye Sivan, Eric Andre, Kid Cudi, and Daveed Diggs are apparently a family. That is the weirdest like, who are the parents? Like, who's the whitest person on earth to give birth to Timberlake? And then who did she meet to wind up with Kid Cudi being his brother? Which, by the way, I'm not kidding. That's who's playing the band in the movie.
They could have get when I got a lot of people in Disney, they reunite NSYNC for that voice.
Hey man, I love Justin, JC, Chris, and Lance, and Joey.
They were the ones that showed up on How I Met Your Father were fine for the 5 minutes they were on screen.
Joey Fatone is a nice guy. He lives in Orlando and he's a good dude. He
was a voice on Family Feud for a few years.
And my buddy has sang karaoke with him several times. He's a good guy.
Hey, not the only Joey Fatone theatrical movie. Don't forget my Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 is coming out soon.
Fuck, I want to forget because I love the original. Man, that movie looks terrible.
Two Joey Fatone appearances
and the worst Photoshop poster in history.
Can we just all agree that movie exists because Tom Hanks wanted a paycheck, but he didn't want to star in something, so he was like, "I'll revive that."
I think the man has enough money. I don't think it was his fault. I think Nia Vardos was like, "Please."
September already is a dumping ground for so many movies coming out in September now.
Yeah, I mean, whatever comes out of that,
Don't you dare diss Saw Patrol, okay? Don't.
We're getting Equalizer 3. We're getting Spanish 4. We're getting.
This is the first Equalizer movie that I think looks good. Like, genuinely,
really?
I think it looks far better than the
Does
others.
anybody else think it's weird that Kenneth Branagh detective guy is getting thrown into a generic horror movie? Does anybody else think that's weird?
Yeah, that's weird to me.
Yeah,
I don't know if they've done that in the books or other movies.
I only going to check it out based on the cast, but that's
what's wild is it's a PG-13 horror film of all things, so it's not even going to be good.
I mean, he's always PG-13, I think.
But it comes out like the week after another generic PG-13 horror movie with The Nun 2, which I'm sure will be terrible.
God, yeah.
Any Nun 2 coming out?
But no,
like
I'll say
a week apart from each other.
Haunting in Venice is an actual Agatha Christie book. So I mean, it's
really,
but
it
with
looks
Poirot?
like
It's based on a real
Oh.
book. It's based on a real book. It's more just why did you go this? Like you could have made that book without going that angle with it.
Yeah, because it looks like every other it literally. It's one of those things where if the trailer starts and I can't tell if it's the trailer for that or the trailer for The Nun 2, they look exactly the same. Like they look like the same movie. Just one has a guy with a handlebar mustache.
I saw that mustache and I knew what trailer we were in, but my confusion was the poster. The first time I saw the poster of the skull, I was like, "What the fuck is that for?" And then I read it. It's like The Haunting in Venice. It's like, what? That? Okay, if you say so.
Yeah,
marketing.
And then, like, you had, like, Tina Fey into it. You had so many people, like, this is weird.
Honestly, I've read some of Kenneth Branagh's comments that he's made about the film because, I don't know, I guess he talked about it. And he seems to have sort of doubled back on the marketing. Like, I think they're trying to sell that as more of a horror movie than it might be because he's trying to use any word other than horror film to describe it.
But it looks like a
Oh, it does. They're marketing.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what they're marketing like. Like the trailer, like I said, you could have told me it's a trailer for The Nun 2 with the Poirot guy, and I would have believed you because it looks like.
And you can tell.
I hope we're proven wrong.
Yeah,
but even the first two were kind of mediocre, so like I don't really have a hell of high hopes.
I don't think it's going to be any better than a 6 out of 10, but I just thought it was weird that it's a horror film.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'm just wondering, do I need to watch the other two to watch this? Like, because I mean,
no, he's a detective.
He's a detective who's skeptical and doesn't believe it's supernatural. Cool.
Yeah.
There's no.
I don't even know. Is he skeptical? I think I would imagine.
no
The first
other
two are not
people
horror at all.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's a skeptic, right? He's a grounded detective, right? So he probably doesn't believe.
I'm guessing so based on the first two. The first two don't have horror, so I don't know if he's skeptic or not.
Is that Tina Fey in the trailer, by the way?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is weird in itself. But
And
anyways,
Michelle Yeoh.
No, she's an actress.
I'm just saying. Okay, weird. But anyways, but it looks like Tina Fey is bringing him in to be like, hey, I think there's something going on here. Maybe you have an explanation for it that I can't figure out. Like, but there's something goofy going on, and he's going to be like the skeptic or whatever.
So we're taking her character for only murder in the building.
That's the formula for these movies. Because like in the second one, it's like he just happens to be on the boat as a wedding guest and a murder happens, and they're like, oh, I mean, sure, we have local police, but he's here, so let's let him.
By the way, well, since you're here anyways,
It's feel weird watching Tina Fey in another whodunit thing because, like, I just seem to think that she playing freaking only murder in the building, season 1 and 2.
I just thought it was weird. I couldn't tell it was her at first, and I was like,
compare this to
Tina Fey in a horror movie? Anyways.
So Barbenheimer. Let's
so we diverged about all the shitty September movies that are coming out. So let's get back to Barbenheimer.
Yeah, there we go. That's the show for the month of September.
There's your September preview. We'll do the same thing at the end of September, Aaron. We'll just recap 5 bad September movies all in one show, very briefly. Like,
I joined. I probably see most.
I'll see them all. I got the Regal Unlimited. I'll watch them all. I'll be there.
I got A-list on my phone.
Chris, I love you for all the support, bro. You literally said to me through text, I took one for the team and saw Last Voyage of Demeter as if I was ever considering talking about that movie. So
yeah, we're not gonna say I saw it, but again,
unless I'm wrong, there's nothing in September other than like Dumb Money looks good.
Dumb Money
that limited release.
And there's nothing in September. If you take that away, there's nothing in September that I really care about.
I'll get Equalizer. I think I'm interested.
And Expendable.
And as a Saw fan, I'm looking forward to Saw.
Here's an actual good question that this will bring us back into Barbie.
Give me a good Saw entry. I'll be excited. Right now, I'm skeptical.
Peck says, do you factor actor salary into the film's budget?
It is factored in the budget.
Salary, yes. Back end, no. So anything that they earn on the back end is not part of budget, but the salary that's on paper is factored into it. Yes.
I saw a thing where Margot Robbie for a back end deal is getting a $50 million paycheck for the back end deal she had for Barbie.
Yeah, no,
so
she's making a lot of money.
She's cashing in on Barbie. She made a good deal, so. There you go. Yeah, but I'm sure she got paid. I think she got paid like $10 million or something like that up front or whatever.
Yeah, so it's salary, a good example of this is like No Hard Feelings I brought up. I don't know exactly what she got paid for the film, but I know that Jennifer Lawrence's general going rate is about 20 to 25 million, depending on the film. And that movie's budget was 45 million, so legitimately half of that movie's budget went to her. And when you take that out of it and look at a $25 million budget, that's more correct for who's actually in
Endgame's $300 million budget. $50 million was Robert Downey Jr.'s salary up front. Legit.
Yes.
Of course.
And that's not counting the $75 million he made on back end from that film.
Right. And then every other person in that movie made a good chunk. So I guarantee at least 100, 150 million of that movie.
I think it's like salaries. all the main Avengers got like between 15 and 20 mil or something for that movie. Something like
so I mean, you're paying $100 million up front just for salaries, and then the rest is the actual budget of the movie. Yeah, no. Harrison Ford, I think, got 40 or 50 million for Indiana Jones. So that's part of the budget. So yes, Jonathan, that is factored in when they budget a movie. Yes, depending on how much they have to pay the main
star. So when you hear the total that an actor gets paid, sometimes not all of it is in the budget, because sometimes they'll say total and they'll factor in if they have back end points on a movie. But for studio accounting, yes, the salary is factored in.
Back end for Tom Cruise on Top Gun Maverick, he made $100 million on back end deals for Maverick because that movie made so much money. So he made, and same thing with Jack Nicholson, 89 Batman, because of a merchandising deal and some other things he had for Batman 89. He's made over $100 million on that movie as well.
Talking about Nicholson?
Nicholson, yes.
Yeah, I remember Nicholson's deal was pretty fucking big. Yeah,
he got paid for the next 2 Batman movies, and he wasn't even in them. That was part of his deal.
Yep.
So he made.
I heard someone speculate that he made money off like Dark Knight. Like I heard that
he
shit
has a
kept going.
perpetual merchandising deal
to
continue merchandising percentages. That's where that was, and he took less of a salary up front, so he made out like a bandit.
For that's one of those big ones. Yeah,
he's
Nicholson.
still getting paid on. So yeah. Anyways, but yeah, Peg. Yeah, they're two different things, but yes. Salary is part of budget. Yes.
So I'll use this to transition back over because another question I'll pull up, or not a question, I guess, so much talking about. First off, Peaches and I'm Just Ken. I'm calling it now. You'll get one of them at the Oscars. You're not getting both. The Oscars take themselves way too seriously to nominate 2 joke songs. That said, we'll use I'm Just Ken to transition back into Barbie. I've spoken about this with a lot of people because it's been a big topic of discussion over the last couple of months. Here's what I would say about Barbie. I think when you look at it straight as a comedy, it delivers excellently on its job. If you look at it just as an outright comedy, I think it's one of the funniest films of the year. I think a lot of the jokes really work. I think the performances are incredibly strong. And I don't even just mean like Margot Robbie and America Ferrera and Ryan Gosling. I think when you look at the background actors, like you look at specifically to me on a second viewing, what stood out is all the various other Kens, Scott Evans, Chudi Gatwa, Kingsley Benadir, and Simu Liu. Like the way they each carry themselves and the little specific details in the various scenes and the like, all of it is so particular and it's clearly so driven to what they're going for, and I think it really works. It's very, very funny. As the movie that it's trying to be, I think its message falls a little flat because I think the jokes actively undercut the message at times. Because what it's trying to say is that obviously the intensely patriarchal society of Studio City in Hollywood, or is it Central City they go to, wherever, that doesn't work. But neither does Barbie Land. That doesn't really work either, and that leaves a lot of people feeling bad. So somewhere in the middle is where the actual reality should be. And I think that that's a great message. But I think the movie just goes a little, like, for being as heavy a message film as it is, I think it just goes a step too far with the jokes. And upon a second viewing, I don't think it's one criticism or the other. I think if you view it as a comedy, then I think it hammers the message in a little too much. And I think if you're viewing it as something a little more important than just a comedy, I think the comedy undercuts the message. That said, everything in this movie, when you take that element away from it and just look at it as a movie, everything in this movie really works. I think Gosling and Ferrera specifically are excellent. Like, I know people have thrown around Oscars for Gosling, and I don't think it'll happen. But as a joke, I think you could put him in the conversation for sure. I'd also put America Ferrera up there. I think she's genuinely really good in this. The only thing in the film that I'd cut out is Will Ferrell. I don't think he needs to be in this nearly as much as he is. I think the stuff in Mattel works, but the moment you take him out of it and you're doing all this other stuff, it's like the amount of jokes that work compared to the ones that don't, it's just not worth keeping him. Like all those guys on the tandem bike, that was funny. But then you get to Barbie Land and you have like the tickle fight, that doesn't work. So I would have cut him personally, but overall the film really works. It's just, if you're going for a good time, I think you'll have it. I'll go to Malcolm next, since he is Knuff. Is the movie?
Yeah, I mean it's one of those ones like I actually disagree with you slightly, because I really love the movie. Like I thought they had like the right amount of comedy in there. It's one of those ones like going in like knowing exactly sort of what Barbie sort of stood for, why Barbie created and all that. Like I figured that with Greta Gerwig signing on to direct this and that, like she was going to go into that aspect of it. So I was kind of expecting that as it was, and I think they did enough. Like it's one of those ones like, for me, this is a 5-star movie. I do have, it's like that's not to say I don't have any minor gripes. Like my minor gripes just don't take away from the score at all. Because like the Will Ferrell bit, I do agree with you. Like I do think that you could keep the Mattel scene. I think that's fine. It's just one of those ones like I don't think you needed him to go to Barbie Land and all that. But because it's just one of those ones like he wanted them back in Barbie Land in the first place. Why was he following them there anyway? Like that part I don't quite understand. But yeah, it's one of those ones like, but it like they announced when this movie was coming out, they announced pretty much all their cast like John Cena and all that. They're all basically cameos. Like they made a big deal about John Cena being a mermaid, just like just there for a small part. So, but that being
I'm sure future ASAP question for JPO, who plays the surfer Barbie out in the ocean. John Cena.
Wait for that in ASAT and WWT. We'll give it a few years.
Which if you're giving it a few years, which former pro wrestler co-starred to throw them off, co-starred in the Barbie film wearing a seashell bikini?
That's a cameo, not a co-star.
Yeah, but throws them off.
I saw a real weird sidetrack here. Saw Ric Flair doing a quote at the Hall of Fame going, John Cena, he loves his business. He'll never leave it for Hollywood. That doesn't hold up so well.
Oops.
Literally, never leave it for Hollywood was his quote.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like, I think all the acting is good. I think there is a legit conversation for Ryan Gosling maybe squeaking into. I know the argument is for best supporting actor, which like I do still think he's a co-lead with Margot Robbie, but like it's just one of those tricky things. Like I know, it depends on where the studios are going to campaign him to be.
Yeah.
But I think there's a legit argument for Margot to get into Best Actress for sure, though.
I was gonna say, like, I view him as a supporting actor personally, but if Christian Bale's a supporting actor in The Fighter, then yeah, sure, you could probably campaign Gosling for Best Actor if you wanted.
Yeah.
I will say
if Al Pacino is a supporting actor in The Godfather.
I will say to hop off two of the things you said, and I'll throw it over to someone else. Story-wise, I picked this up a second time. I think the reason that Will Ferrell goes to Barbie Land is because of the changes that are happening in the real world as a result of what Ken's done. I think he's trying to make sure that gets ended and it gets back to normal. Yeah. But then the other one is... like I said, I have my feelings on how they handled the message versus the comedy, but
at the same time, why are they trying to stop the thing that they clearly say is selling well because of the changes Ken makes?
Because they said they're a company about women that just happens to be run by men.
Right, but they're also greedy men, and then this thing is like they say is taking off, which again is a weird message in the movie. Now this thing takes off and is making them boatloads of money, and they want to stop it. Again, weird.
Hence what I mean when I say I think the jokes do get the wires a little twisted on what the message is here. Yeah. The other thing is this movie's. I'm not even talking about Greta Gerwig. This movie's co-written by Noah Baumbach. If you didn't think this was a message film, that's on you. Come on.
Well, you'd never seen Marriage Story half a Noah Baumbach.
Jordan, I'll go to you next. What are your thoughts? Because I know you probably have the quickest out of any of us, so I want to get you in.
I'm still waiting for a link, but it hasn't come. This is another good time with the theaters here. I think the message gets being a little bit too much towards the end, but it's still a good trip here, man. I think everyone's delivering great performances here. I don't know if they're Oscar worthy, but like I wouldn't mind it either if they happen to sneak in. Stuff like that doesn't always get recognized, so power to movies like this that do every once in a while. Like you said from the get-go. You say Barbie, okay, well, it's not for me, but then you see Gerwig and, Baumbach, and you're like, okay, so it's not Paw Patrol. It's not, it's not just for that category. It's going to be something different here. And I like the kind of weirdness about the trailers here. I like that we still didn't totally know what we're getting into in a way, like, which is kind of cool. That doesn't always happen. Chris?
They literally used the opening of the movie for one.
Yeah, and that's smart. I've always said like there almost should be like a rule in trailer making. Like, don't even like they should even give the trailer editors like the last 40 minutes of the movie. They should be like, here's the first hour, choose from that. Like, don't give me anything from the end.
There was a movie recently that did that where like Was it? I mean, I feel like it was Barbie, where there was nothing from the second half in the actual.
That's what Chris
trailer.
was just saying. Yeah, it's
Well,
pretty much just from
but
that
even
first
that full
bit.
trailer, when you watch the movie, there's nothing in that second half that's in that trailer whatsoever. And that's fine because I was sold enough to.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, because
Yeah,
because like my one small complaint on in a different way about Gran Turismo is like a lot of the beats going into the movie.
Jesus
you know
Christ.
several impactful moments. Like that's a problem. Even though it's a really good movie, you know that he's gonna successfully do this, this, and this. But you know what I mean? That's not even a question going into the movie. But yeah, Barbie was good. I do sadly agree, and I feel like pretty much a majority agree that the Will Ferrell unfortunately does seem expendable. Some jokes land, most don't to a degree. And just every time you kind of go back to him, you're like, okay, we got this going on right now. Him and the dude running around and whatnot. But overall, no, I thought it was fun. I like the world that they built. It was weird. Don't know if all the rules solely hinge up, but I'm not taking a notebook and writing down all the rules. I'm just having fun. So good flick.
Yeah. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a film I need to go back and rewatch to see how I feel the second time around. But I do love this movie. I think it demented heavy-handed, yes, at times. But it also made a legitimate argument why I think it should be nominated for screenplay, because I think one of the best moments of the message is American Ferrera monologue when she talks about.
Oh, fuck! I'll talk about that. No. No.
Well, this will be fun. All right, go ahead, Chris.
No.
But I thought the acting was great. I thought a lot of jokes land. One about to took some shot at their own company in the movie at time. I was a little bit surprised by, especially as that Snyder.
Yes,
joke.
Yes, we all know there was a Snyder Cut joke.
Yeah, but I thought everybody delivered. I thought Gosling was great. He was very funny. I think the ending went on a little bit too long. I think there were too many endings to the movie. They're just like, okay, wrap up. Come on, let's get to the actual ending. And I agree with Will Ferrell. I thought he was unnecessary. A couple of jokes were funny. Like they say, what about Ken? Oh, we don't have to worry about him like that. Like. And then, but I thought the really Wilson stuff I really liked more from Martell. Her showing up as the creator of Barbie, and the stuff for her Margot Robbie, especially at the end, I thought was really beautiful and touching. But yeah, overall, I love this movie. Not in my, I think it's the bottom of my top 10 right now, but it's a film definitely an interesting rewatch. And I think I just see Ryan Gosling and I see America Ferrera and Margot Robbie maybe getting anything with Goodwood for directing for nomination, especially for best production design and a few other things around.
That I would imagine. That's the only thing I could see.
Yeah, I think
definite.
I think for sure this film's a lock on the technical side of things. Yeah. It is well.
You can't deny that.
And for that, I think if it picks up enough technical awards, I think Gerwig could have a chance at director. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, I think it's a toss up on the rest of it, just because it's how seriously does the Academy actually take the film to really put it up there.
On that note, and I don't mean to cat in front of Austin here, but quite often the Oscars do tend to look seriously at any movies that did obviously not all the movies they nominate are going to be the highest grossing, but they do look at the ones that made a lot of money. Sometimes one sneaks in because it is one of the big box office darlings, and unfortunately, Barbie is actually really high in there. It's I think the only one that made higher than that is Super Mario Brothers in the box.
Yeah, right now it's the second highest grossing film of the year, and unless it hits a very steep cliff very quickly, it's on track to become number one.
It's already past Dark Knight as Warner Brothers' highest profitable. So
also, it had one of the most funnier punchline ending I ever say to a movie in a while. Like that last line is freaking hysterical. Once you get the implication.
I was gonna say I noticed this the second time I saw it, and then I'll cut over to you, Austin. I don't even think it's the joke that's actually funny. I don't think it's actually a funny joke. I think it's the fact that it's the ending of the film, because the screening, the second time I saw the film in theaters, and I don't know if the first audience did this because I wasn't paying attention, because I've seen it. I'm paying attention to how the audience is reacting as well. Yeah. Nobody actually laughed at the joke, like when she delivered the line. It was when they did the hard cut to the credits and it's the rap song and you realize, oh, it's over. That's when people laugh.
Yeah.
I think it's more just because that's how they ended it. The joke itself is not actually all that funny. Austin, I'll go to you next then. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll get it out of the way. I realize a 37-year-old dude is not a demographic for this movie. I get it. So, I went and saw it. And I'll say this. I think the movie's a big mixed bag for me. Like, I think there's some really good stuff in here and some not so great stuff in here. Just for me personally. If people dig it, I totally understand. If people are one of their favorites of the year, cool. I get why people are going to see it again. So it's just my 2 cents. I really enjoyed like the first 30-40 minutes of this movie when we're just exploring the Barbie world. Like I thought that was great, like how the world works, her pouring like fake breakfast stuff, and not actually eating, like all that, like floating down from that, like how the world works. Like I loved all that. The set design, all that stuff was great. Like I could have spent a whole movie just in Barbie Land, just exploring how this world works. And like I would have been kind of okay with that. So all that stuff was really good. I was into the movie. I was digging it. Even the first 10 or 15 minutes of them when they get to the real world doing the fish out of water stuff, going back to jail multiple times. I thought that was like a funny joke, just like over and over again. Like I thought that was funny, not knowing how everything works. Like again, all that stuff is fine. But my God, when they start bringing the messaging in this movie, dude, they beat you over the head with a sledgehammer with it for an hour straight. And I was like, I completely checked out of the movie after that, because I guarantee you there will be a drinking game for this movie. Take a drink every time they say the word patriarchy, and you will be dead by the end of this movie. Holy shit. Even during the movie, I was like,
and the thing is
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, Jesus Christ, I got it. And
the thing is, it wouldn't even be a drinking game worth dying for, because it's not about horses. So
yeah, I mean, again,
not to interrupt. I'm gonna head out, guys.
Yeah,
I know you're being summoned in the live chat. See you, man.
No, it's fine. What's he being summoned to? I didn't even look at the
For Jay.
I didn't pull it up on screen.
Oh, he's got
being summoned.
They're doing lights out. That's right. Okay. Anyways, but no, I in that second half again, I still think there's good jokes in the second half and good material. I like the fact that the Ken world, they're like obsessed with just watching horse videos and The Godfather. Like I think that's a funny joke. Like that's what they think being a manly man is, and wearing like fur coats and. Again, there's cliche things that are funny, like what they think being a macho man like is or whatever, and like running, like he reads a book on patriarchy and thinks he knows everything about like running a society. I think
serenading with the Matchbox 20 song.
Yeah, and they're all singing the exact same song around the fire, like, and they, but again, the messaging I think is weird because the movie itself and the material undercuts the messaging. Because if this is supposed to be such a female heavy, the Barbie world where they run everything, they run the government, they run the judges, everything, whatever, yet they are taken over within a day so easily with basic patriarchy 101 in a day. What does that say about how strong these women actually are?
Yeah,
to me, it's like
I agree with you.
I think that undercuts your message of what you're trying to do. The America Ferrera monologue is the cringiest thing I've seen all year. It brings the movie, I think, to a grinding halt for about 90 seconds. And I could even feel, because I was at a packed theater and there was a bunch of teenage girls in my row. I could hear them take a breath and kind of even groan at that. Like it was like, holy shit! Like we stopped the movie so that she can give an essay on feminism, and I'm just like. All right, cool. This is not the same movie. Like it's completely out of place for the tone of this film, which is supposed to be kind of a goofy send up of like tropes about feminism and patriarchy. I think if he lightly touched on those, I'm fine with it. But again, I think they smack you over the head of it over and over and over and over again to where it gets. I was exhausted by the end of this movie, by the end of it. So again, there's good stuff here. I like the first half, kind of roughly the first half overall. I still enjoyed. I would watch the first half again. I liked it. Again, good bits of comedy in the second half with sort of how they change the world and all that. Like there's some good material there. I like the sort of fourth wall jokes about like Helen Mirren's. It was something about like, well, if we wanted to comment on Pretty Woman playing, we probably shouldn't have casted Margot Robbie.
The line is, note to the producers, Margot Robbie's not the person to cast to make this point.
Right. Yeah. So I enjoyed that stuff from Helen Mirren because I was Helen Mirren, right? Like doing the narration.
Helen Mirren's the narrator.
Yeah. So I mean, I enjoyed that stuff in kind of a Deadpool way, where it's like kind of a fourth, like we're aware of what we're doing. And again, if the movie had stuck to that tone and took it kind of lightly and played it up in like a satirical kind of way, I could have really rolled with it. But I think Greta Gerwig in the middle of this thing and Noah Baumbach, I guess to a degree, like awkwardly tried to shove in their own stuff in a completely different movie, and it feels out of place for me, and it killed a lot of the momentum for me that I think that the movie had this momentum going for me, and I was completely with it. And then I think when they throw it in there so heavy-handed and they don't play it for comedy for a lot of those bits, I think it killed a lot of the vibe I was rolling with the movie. Again, for me, if people dig it, that's fine. Just my 2 cents. It could have been, for me, this could have been like a 7 or 8 out of 10. And then, like, I think that second half just killed it where it's like a 5.5 out of 10 for me. Like, there's enough stuff there for me personally. So it's not like on my worst of the list or anything like that. It's far from it.
Yeah, that's fair. And like I said,
it killed it for me.
And I feel like
I wound up giving it. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, but the comedy alone, I want to give it higher. But you're right. I do think that the messaging gets a bit mixed, and then it becomes very prominent. So a bit of course correction, because I pitched this idea to someone, and so I guess I'll bring it up here. So with the America Ferrera thing, first off, I do agree with you that for how long it goes on, it does get a little heavy-handed. That said, I do think her performance and her delivery of it is incredible. I mean, to be able to deliver that in for that long and still keep most of the audience engaged is very impressive as an actress. Like, 'cause it is a lot to like deliver.
Yeah.
How I would have done it personally, like if I were the writer or director, rather than having her deliver the entire speech and then devising the plan and then moving on and continuing more of the speech to break them out. It's like now you're adding supplemental pieces to the speech.
Right.
What I would have done is I would have had her deliver part of the speech first, have it inspire people, develop the plan, and then let her deliver the rest of it throughout that monologue. So you can hear the entire thing, but it's pieced up. There's jokes in between. It's serving a purpose within the story instead of just being a straight delivered monologue.
Grinds to a halt to deliver an essay that's completely out of like a.
I agree with you there. It's weirdly implemented.
Yeah, it's out of place.
I didn't hate it, but it's weirdly implemented.
Yeah.
The problem with the messages, and I've seen it done better in other Greta Gerwig stuff. Barbie and not Joe from Little Women. That make more sense of Little Women with like Joe, with the whole like, you know, what woman's role in society is and everything. Like, and I think that type of monologue done better as Little Women. I think it's done better as Lady Bird. So it's like, as much I love Barbie, easily my least favorite out of three of them. I like Lady Bird, I like Little Women a lot more, but I still enjoy the movie a lot. Right?
Well, I was also you touched on it a little bit, Aaron, but like I don't understand the rules of how everything works in the thing, and I don't think even the movie knows how because they imply that she starts to get cellulite and age because the doll in real life is like wearing out. But if that was the case, shouldn't half of Barbie be either burned to a crisp or twisted into pretzels, or you know, or you know, covered in dust or what? You know what I mean? Like, how does that work? Like, I think they introduced that idea and they don't follow through with it, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
It's the idea of Barbie Land also being something that is semi-connected to the real world is it's implemented just enough that it serves its purpose for the story, but it's not implemented so much that I think it leaves the audience in one of two places. If you're the person to think that deeply about the film, you're left questioning how the fuck the rules of this world even work. Yeah. And if you're not the person, there's not enough of it used that you would sit there questioning. Like, I think if you just go and watch the movie and take it for what it is, you're not going to think about it after the fact.
Right.
If you do think about things like that, you are going to eventually reach the point of what the fuck are the rules of this world? Because no, it's not well defined at all.
I think like, how are Will Ferrell and them able to just walk into Barbie Land? Like, I don't understand. Can anybody just walk into Barbie Land? Like, how does that work? I don't know. Like,
I mean, seemingly, if you get the colored roller skates and then you skate into the background and then you pop in the thing and then you do the thing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't think the movie's concerned with that, so that's fine. But you know, and just one other nitpick again. certain movies don't need to be 2 hours. This movie did not need to be 2 hours. This should have been a very tight 90 minutes for a Barbie movie. A Barbie movie should not be more than 100 minutes tops. And I think it does drag on a little bit, especially like again in that second half where they're trying to cram in all the messaging.
And when they have one too many endings. Well,
yeah. So again, it's not all like I'm not crapping on the movie completely like I did with Indy or Little Mermaid or whatever. I'm not. I think there's good stuff in here.
We've had enough examples of you crapping on a film to know what the difference is.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. So I think there's good stuff. I would
you
go
don't
back
have a
and watch.
list like you did with
No. I don't have a list. I just have certain things that did drag it down for me, like
that's fair.
Significantly that I think are fair criticisms, like to a degree. But yeah, like I would go back and watch like the first half of this movie again. Like I would watch some of that stuff again. If man, there's been a whole movie just set in Barbie Land, just exploring this Barbie Land, man, I'd have been all in, man. I think that would have been fun. Like kind of like the Lego movie to me. Like it was just set in this world and we're exploring the greater Barbie universe. Like I would be in, and maybe they run into other toys or Mattel properties. Like I'm all in for that shit. Like do it. Like
so on that note, so I've seen this theory online, but some people are theorizing that Will Ferrell's character is the dad from Lego Movie, because it's implied that the dad from Lego Movie works for a company. We don't know what the company is.
The characterizations are different, though. He's much more of a serious asshole in that movie. He's a goofball, like aloof, like misogynist
I think
in this movie. I
think if you want to tie them together, it's a fun little thing. But
it's a fun thing, but I think their characterizations are different. If you go watch the Lego Movie, it's completely different characterization.
I mean, it's one of those ones like, as I said, it's just for like, because I think it could also be like if they did go that route, and if that's what they're implying, because it could just be like maybe the dad is the way he acts with his son is different to the way he acts outside the house. I don't know. I agree with you on the fact that their characterizations are different. I'm just saying this series out there.
Sure, no.
I would say the more likely theory here is rather than there being some sort of weird theorized in-universe connection, I think. Because again, we all know that studios like working with certain actors. I think it's probably fair game to say Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig saw a Lego Movie, loved it, and then years later when they're making Barbie, wrote this character and thought, I really like Will Ferrell in this kind of role. Let's see if he's available. And so they brought him in.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget there was going to be a version of the Barbie movie where Amy Schumer, I think, was attached to be.
Thank God they did not.
It was that, So that was. It's a completely different project technically. That was when Sony had it. So Sony had the rights to Barbie for a few years, and their film was with Amy Schumer, but they couldn't get it made before the rights lapsed, and then they gave it to Warner.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed. I'll say, in the sequel, if they worked in more Easter eggs or crossovers with other Mattel properties, like if there were other universes.
I think you're getting those Mattel property movies, buddy.
I know, but I don't want individual movies. I would rather see like Barbie driving around in a Hot Wheels car. You know what I mean? Like I think that'd be fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like runs into He-Man, from Masters of the Universe. You know what I mean? Like, and you could poke fun at that. Like I would rather see just the other Mattel things not be there's stop making you're gonna learn Aaron, they're gonna learn the wrong lesson from this movie. They're gonna
100% they're learning the wrong lesson.
People want Mattel
Hasbro
movies.
Hasbro have reestablished.
Yes.
Or not Hasbro, excuse me. Mattel they used to have a production studio that shut down, and now they've reestablished it to try and get more of these properties.
No, Hollywood always learns the wrong thing. Yeah, no, they just want clever properties that kind of make fun of themselves or are a little satirical, that are set in a fun world. Yeah, make a Barbie sequel and fine. Of course, it's going to make $1 billion. Like, make a sequel, but work those Mattel things into the Barbie movie, and I'm fine with that. Don't take this as we got to make a Hot Wheels movie. Don't do that.
There was one. The only other Mattel movie I've ever heard of that would have been a good idea I forget the gentleman's name, but it was just something I read recently. He was a staff writer for Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Is it the Nerf movie?
Yeah, so he made a pitch to Mattel the first time they had their film studio set up, and his pitch was a Nerf movie. But the concept for the film was it's just insert your own generic action film here,
but it's all Nerf instead of
everyone's
guns.
using Nerf guns,
No,
and
that's
no
a
one
great
acknowledges
idea.
that they're using.
No,
Nerf
that's
guns.
and you know what that's like? That's like there's the gangster movie, Bugsy, is it Bugsy Malone or whatever? Yeah, this movie. So there's a movie, I don't know if you guys
Why do you just have that there?
Bugsy, because it's because I have my alphabetical shit. It's right next to me, so it's in the B, so it's in the first section. But this movie, Bugsy Malone, so it's Jodie Foster, Scott Baio, right? It's a gangster movie, but in the movie, instead of using machine guns, all their guns fire bubbles. But it's just like a normal thing. So like that's a concept. So doing like an action movie, but you don't acknowledge the fact that they have like a Gatlin Nerf gun instead of a gun, I think would be a brilliant like kind of send up of action movies, and you play it comedically. But everybody in the movie plays it like the Naked Gun and plays it straight, like within the movie and doesn't acknowledge that. I think that would be genius. Yeah.
And I think the other one that they actually compared it to was the paintball episodes of Community.
Right.
Community,
right.
Which is a good idea.
Yes. No, do that. I'm all for it. Yeah. If you could be clever, that's a way to be clever with the property and do it.
Speaking of the paintball episodes of Community, what we need to do is we need to just let's get that movie back up and running and give it to Justin Lin, because my God, that guy needs something. That's not a Fast and Furious film, because I like Star Trek, but
I would actually be open to a prequel to Barbie, where they actually show sort of the origins of how the Barbie Land came to be as well.
That would require a lot of extra thought they didn't put in the first time around, but I'd love to see them try.
Sure. So they'll learn the wrong lessons. So the next 3 years we'll get a bunch of Mattel movies that bomb, and then they'll but the Barbie one will be the one that makes money.
Did we not learn from Battlefield 10 or Battleship 10 years ago? Like, did we not learn from that?
Yeah, no. Like, you're learning the wrong lessons. Stop.
Well, because I'm pretty sure last time we talked, Mattel did it. That someone said there's a whole bunch, all these movies based on Mattel properties in the works, which include like American Doll,
Uno,
Polly Pocket was the one I saw. They had a director attached.
Yeah, I think Hot
Flash. Remember that crap?
What?
No, I had a Screen Rant thing pulled up, but like I said, Hot Wheels was one of them. Master of the Universe has been bouncing around for a while, so I don't really count that. The weird Barney movie with Daniel Kaluuya.
I'm actually excited for that, though.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is, but maybe it'll be like Barbie, and we're like, I don't know what this is. Let's all go see it and see what the hell it is.
Yeah.
I can go into that real quick, because he did an interview about it, and I read it.
Yeah.
So his inspiration for that film is actually the Disney movie Christopher Nolan, and his approach to it is Christopher Robin, excuse me. And his approach to it,
we'll talk about Christopher Nolan in a minute.
his approach to it is the way that people perceive Barney is he's this magical purple dinosaur that comes into the lives of these kids whose parents probably don't spend a lot of time with them because they can fuck off with a purple dinosaur for hours on end. And basically it's like he's going to focus on a set of kids that are grown up after spending their childhood with Barney, and then I keep saying Barbie, and then whatever happens, Barney comes back into their lives, and he's like, I want to look at the psychological effect of what spending your childhood years with a purple dinosaur does to you. What does that person become when they grow up?
Yeah. One thing I really hope,
which I love, Daniel, make that film. I'm all for it. That sounds brilliant.
One thing I really hope in that movie is if the kids that Barney goes and visits is Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato, because they actually got their start on the Barney.
On the Barney show?
Yeah, they actually got their start on Barney.
They could be supporting characters. I'd be in for that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay, so I found it. So Polly Pocket, they're moving forward on. They've cast Emily in Paris star Lily Collins as Polly.
Oh, God, you're learning the wrong lessons. Stop. No, you're doing the wrong things. No.
Nothing at Lily Collins. She's a fine actress. No.
Just have Barbie run into Polly Pocket while she's like running around Barbie Land. You know what I mean? Like, just have it part of the Barbie world.
But they can't make more money that way. Potentially.
Yes, they can, because Barbie 2 could make as much money as any of those movies would ever make combined. You know what I mean?
But when they see $3 signs and you're seeing one slightly bigger,
we don't need a Viewmaster movie. What are you doing?
He-Man movie.
What
the fuck? The Uno film.
The Uno film is supposed to be a heist movie. They're making an Uno heist movie.
I can't really see them trap the robbers by using the reverse card on
the
them.
reverse Uno card. Yeah, and draw 4. So whatever the hell that means in the movie. What are we doing? Like, yeah, you're learning. Stop it, Hollywood. Bad Hollywood.
Although
Bad
that being
Hollywood.
said, I would like to see a movie about the actual making of the game Uno and how they hit.
Well, again, if you're going to take these properties somewhere, that's the way to go. As we learned from like Tetris, like the Tetris movie that came out. Like it's not like a goofy movie set in a Tetris world. It's like about the making of this or making of that. You can make a movie about the Hot Wheels phenomenon. Like I'd be okay with that. I like the Beanie Bubble. Like I like that movie, and like I don't give a shit about Beanie Babies, but like I like seeing these true life stories. That's one of my new favorite subgenres is these true life movies that are kind of off the wall and crazy. Dumb Money looks great. Like make more of those. If you're gonna do something on these big, toy properties or whatever, make it about the making of those toys, and I'm in. Like, do that, and I'm there. But yeah, don't.
All right, so
not everything needs to be Barbie.
So, before we move on to Oppenheimer, we'll go ahead and move it on very quickly. Just to shout it out, Michael Cera was excellent as Alan. I mean, there's not really a lot to talk about outside of his performance was genuinely excellent. Like he was committed to this,
really good.
But there's not much to say. And then the other thing is, what do we think Oscar chances for I'm Just Ken? Because here's my thing. If they're gonna nominate it, and I know this is not the same studio as the film that I'm about to reference, but if we're gonna nominate a song that Ryan Gosling sang, actually let him sing it. Because I remember years ago when he was in La La Land, they nominated his song and they nominated Emma Stone's song, and then they just had John Legend trot out with a piano and sing both. No. And it's like, if we're gonna do I'm Just Ken, we gotta commit to it.
And it can work in certain circumstances. When Robin Williams sang Blame Canada for the South Park movie, that works because he was committed to it and he made it work. And that's fine. You got a big celebrity to do it.
Yeah, because I wouldn't expect Trey Parker.
I'm in the camp where I think the Super Mario song has a better chance. But yeah, if you're gonna get that, you got to get Jack Black on a piano in the middle of the stage and just
in a Bowser costume.
That's what I mean. In a Bowser costume, singing it from a piano. Like you have to just let him do his thing for 2 minutes and sing it.
My thing is, like, after, and I have a little more faith in them because I do not remember the name of either singer for the life of me. The people who did the song from Everything Everywhere All at Once, like they let whatever the hell that was happen last year.
Yeah.
So if you're going to nominate one of these two songs, I do think it'll be one and not the other. I don't think they're going to put two joke songs in there.
Yeah.
So it's one of those ones like I actually think there's a good chance you could get both of them in, because like quite often if there's a song that sort of stays in the consciousness, and both of them are most likely going to stay in that consciousness, I think there's a chance they both could be there. There's a lot of good like songs that potentially could get in as well, because like with Barbie, like there's at least three, or at least maybe not one now because of the singer, but there's at least 3 songs that I think could there. Like the one
you don't think they don't want Lizzo?
Yeah, that's the one that I thought initially. Well, that's the one I initially thought could be nominated as well. But I think, like with Barbie, there's at least a few different songs. Like
it certainly ain't gonna be the damn song that Celine Dion did for Love Again, because that movie sucks.
No. Yeah, I think it's all about what star do they want on that stage. Do they want? Yeah. I think a song from that soundtrack's getting nominated.
Yeah, because like you've got the Billie Eilish song, you've got I'm Just Ken, and the Dua Lipa one maybe. But I think if anything, it might be maybe Billie Eilish. I don't know. Like
I think Billie Eilish had a better chance.
I mean, it's one of those ones. Like I think, I think there is a world where both could get in. There's a lot of songs out there. I know if Dan Skip Allen was here, like he will be talking about the song that Dolly Parton and a bunch of other ladies sang for 80 for Brady.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is written by the Oscar favorite Diane Warren. So,
but yeah, to me,
was that song written by Diane Warren?
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting nominated 100%.
To me, Aaron, if Jack Black and Ryan Gosling would most likely be at the Oscars anyway, why not get them to sing their own songs? I'm sure they would do it. You know, like it just
True.
makes sense. Like Ryan
But
Gosling
also-
would be at the Oscars anyway, so like, yeah, like you know, why
Well,
not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those.
I think, yeah, because you're right. Like, knowing that song was written by Diane Warren, that's getting nominated. I think something from the Barbie soundtrack will get nominated. I think if they snub the Spider-Verse soundtrack again, I think they're ridiculous. I think something off that will get pushed for a nomination.
So it's one of those ones like with Spider-Verse. I don't think there's any like.
You know what I think?
I don't really think there's an original song that's strong enough to get nominated.
But the reason I say that something will get pushed is because, again, I mean, as we've seen in the past, the Oscars nominate off of who they can get to perform. So the idea of taking one of the biggest rap producers in the world in Metro Boomin and him bringing any one of his number of friends who are on that album to the Oscars and letting them perform, they'll absolutely take it if they can.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm getting into it is because I think the other one is because when it comes to the best songs, the Oscars do really like getting an animated song in there, and I think Peaches will be that one. But there's also a chance because there's Wish coming out this year, which is a animated musical. There's Valerie and the Bows. They're probably going to get heard up there to sing something. But to get back on topic, I think if I'm Just Ken and Peaches nominated, I think it's definitely going to be them singing it because based on the success that they did when they got the people who did Natu Natu for Triple R last year, I think they're going to want to repeat that. And plus, they've surely seen the videos of Jack Black singing Peaches on stage at the Game Awards where he's dressed out and done all that whole theatrical stuff. So they're going to want to repeat that for the Oscars.
And in the days, Aaron, of we need to put clips online to go viral. I mean,
True.
You can't tell me having Jack Black on the Oscar stage in an outfit at a piano singing the song.
Oh, I should say, I have
viral. Yeah,
I have zero doubt that if that song gets nominated, it's going to be Black singing it. My thing is because Gosling isn't a professional singer in that sense, and they've already have a history of putting somebody else in his place to perform. Would they put somebody else up there to sing it? Because
I think Gosling would be down to do it though, and like I'm sure.
Again, I don't think it'd be him stopping himself. I'm just saying, like I think if they're going to nominate it, then they have to. But if they're not, give it to one of the other side. Put Billy up there for a third year.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if I'm Just King gets nominated, I'm fairly certain they're going to get Ryan Gosling on stage to sing that song.
You think
I do understand. Like, it's one of those. I mean, it's because I think I have to look more into this, but seeing this isn't an Oscars podcast, I'm not going to dwell too much on this.
Please.
I mean, it could have just been a reason like maybe Ryan Gosling wasn't feeling up to singing City of Stars or whatnot, or but
also.
I'm not forgetting. I just have to say, I've never forgotten about the Mickey Mouse Club, Jonathan. I'm well aware.
I'm not forgetting. No, I'm aware that he was in the Mickey Mouse Club.
I also would say they don't have to probably cut at the Oscar when performing half the song because the song. As much as I love that song, it go on for a long time in the freaking movie.
They would do it. Well, they would do a brief version of it. They've done edited versions of songs before.
Yeah.
So. The thing is, on the actual soundtrack of Barbie, the song "I'm Just Ken" is about 2.5 minutes.
It's shortened, yeah.
It's definitely not the full thing you see in the movie.
So they probably cut it off right before all of the other 10 come in.
No, they've already truncated it. Like that's what he's saying is if you go listen to the soundtrack version. They take the transition points and just truncate it into musical transitions. So you could have you could have random guys or Kens or I don't know, bring back the gay men's choir that sang with McFarlane. I don't care who you bring out, but you could bring someone out to sing with him if you wanted to.
You think they might bring back half of the Kens just for the publicity stunt?
I mean, they're all there. They'll bring all 5 of them on stage.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. What's Scott Evans doing that night? He can't be that busy.
I mean, that song is entertaining, and I do like the Billie Eilish song a lot, too. I would probably pull more to Billie Eilish. I thought that would be more interesting song.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I think Peaches will be nominated because it was a viral sensation. People really liked it. It has a good use in the film, and there's nothing competing against it. Whereas, unfortunately, I'm Just Ken is on a soundtrack of songs with other stars that they would probably like to get to perform on the. I mean, remember, The Weeknd got nominated for Earned It from 50 Shades of Grey solely because they wanted him to show up and perform right at his hottest. Like, there's no other reason you wouldn't bring that guy to the Oscars. Yeah. So I have a funny feeling it's not going to get nominated for that reason, but I'd certainly like to see it. And there's also not a possibility they couldn't just have him singing anyways. You know what I mean? I mean, they did. We Don't Talk About Bruno a couple years ago. They don't do that again. Don't do that.
Well,
but
I mean, don't ruin the song.
Well, I mean, as long as you do it perfect. But on the flip side of that, if it's the other way, if I'm Just Ken gets and Peaches got in, they're probably still going to get Jack Dixon Peaches at the Oscars.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
At least Peaches is shorter than I Just Ken.
Yeah, he could do Peaches in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do we have anything else to say about Barbie, or are we good to move on?
Let's go on Oppenheimer.
We'll go ahead and move over. My final word on Barbie is if anybody goes to see it again, if anybody goes to see Barbie for a second or third time or whatever, and you want an extra laugh during the movie, I've said this before to people online, especially during the scene where Ken's going on his tirade about the patriarchy and all the changes in Barbie Land, pay attention to the young actress playing the daughter, Ariana Greenblatt, because that girl could not keep a straight face for the life of her. So much so that it's in the movie. She is breaking character and laughing for most of that scene. So if you just want to see an actor just completely give up at being professional, pay attention to that, because it is one of the funniest things I've seen all year. Just especially because the character's supposed to be still like sour and dour and upset in that scene, and there's just moments where she's completely laughing at what's happening in front of her. Which, to be fair, if Ryan Gosling were shirtless, wearing a mink coat, standing up on front of a car in front of me declaring the patriarchy is about horses, I'd probably laugh too. But funny stuff. That said, we'll go ahead and move into the funnier of these two movies, Oppenheimer.
Surprisingly, some funny moments throughout the movie, though.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much personality in this movie. I love it. This is at the minimum my second favorite film of the year. It may be my favorite above Spider-Verse. I'm not sure. I still like Spider-Verse a bit more. I'm probably going to see it one more time in theaters. I like literally my only complaint is I think maybe it's a little too long. I think maybe you could have shaved 10 minutes off of it here and there, because some scenes we do go back to a few times, and I think we hear a little bit of information repeated at times over certain things. But that said, on a technical movie, like from a technical perspective, you could argue this is Nolan's magnum opus. It's so tightly wound. It brings everything that people have praised him for into it. His use of time mechanics and how he likes to play with films in the order they're told in, his direction of performances, his tight writing and narrative. I think this movie is one of his strongest films for his weakest points. When you look at his, people have criticized very openly, and so have I, his ability to deliver emotion in films. I think this is one of his best. I think he absolutely nails it here. And I like the fact that the movie, I was curious as to how they were going to portray it, because were they going to pick a side? And I like that the side that they picked is, maybe it was a bad, like they kind of picked a side, but they didn't. Like they acknowledged the fact that the existence of this in general is not a good thing. And it has spurred the world towards worse results. But is the person behind it bad the way that some people would want to villainize him? Maybe not. It's kind of up to your
And they argue both sides of, the atomic bomb may have been necessary. I mean, as cruel as it was, because if you go back and look at it in context of historical, because my dad got me into like World War II stuff. I studied World War II a lot, and the fact that it is true that the emperor at the time had basically convinced all of, they had this culture that they were not going to surrender. And they say that in the movie, that all the civilians were going to fight tooth and nail to the end, even if we invaded, full on the actual country, so that it's a cruel but almost necessary thing to end the conflict. So yeah, no, you don't have to agree with you don't have to say it was a great thing of the loss of life, you know what I mean? But from a strictly military strategic thing to end further loss of life in a prolonged additional years worth of war, you know what I mean? And what could have been even more casualties on the ground with a full-on invasion or assault, on the actual island of Japan, you know what I mean? Like it could have been even worse.
The way I would describe it is, I think Nolan communicates to the audience how he feels about it. Right. But I don't think the movie actually tells you what to think. It's not telling you to think one way or the other about him as a person or the situation in general. It's kind of just laying out the facts in front of you and saying,
it's the same thing with the communism aspect about Oppenheimer himself, of whether or not you think he's sympathetic to communism at one point, whether Emily Blunt was or not. I think Jason Clarke does make legitimate points, in the movie. You can see his side of it, of being like, no, but you were literally a card-carrying member of the Communist Party, you know what I mean? You have all these friends that are communists. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a, you know what I mean? Like there's a point you could agree with that. You could at least, again, whether what side you fall and agree on, you can understand the perspective from where the different people in the movie are coming from, which is the sign of good writing and a good movie. When you can at least, you don't have to agree with the person that you don't like, but you can see where they're coming from.
Absolutely. I'll go back to you in a second for your general thoughts. I'll jump down to Malcolm first. Go ahead.
Yeah. You're muted, Malcolm.
Yep.
I didn't say anything important in that minute anyway. But yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about Oppenheimer, but I don't know if it needed to be 3 hours long. I think this could it could have been 2.5 hours at best. But I will say I really. Because when Nolan left Warner Bros. And went to Universal, he basically he had sort of carte blanche to do what he wanted, because I think it was $100 million, and there was a bunch, and I think nothing like that. Universal couldn't release a movie 3 weeks before or after Oppenheimer, was something to that effect. But yeah, but I enjoyed it. It's it's I really appreciate technical effects, the fact that this was done with pretty much no CGI whatsoever. It's except in certain countries where they CGI'd Florence Pugh's naked body. But
I don't know why they wouldn't want excessive Florence Pugh titty in their face. I don't know who's complaining about that, but I'm sure the French
they did the same thing with Eyes Wide Shut. There's a version where there's CGI black panties in them during the big orgy scene in the middle of the movie.
How does that work?
It doesn't, and they put
what,
CGI.
Do you pull them to the side or something?
No, they literally, if you watch the censored version, they put CGI people in front of some of the sex scenes going on. It's very strange. Yeah, in Eyes Wide Shut, it's weird.
Just ban the film at that point,
or just just don't.
Why are you even bothering? Just ban the film.
Yeah. Anyway,
but just sort of reading up some of these articles on how he managed to do the atomic bomb thing, which was a very complicated procedure, which involved balloons and signs and a whole bunch of things that I don't remember off the top of my head. But I remember sort of finding an article in which they sort of explain how exactly they did it, and it's definitely he put a lot of care into this, especially for the fact that he replicated a whole lot of these, and I really like the acting in that, and it's one of those ones. I think Cillian Murphy's most definitely getting nominated for an Oscar at this point.
So is Robert Downey Jr. 100%.
Robert Downey Jr. might be winning the Oscar.
Probably has a good chance.
Yeah.
So I will say, calm down on the might be winning thing. We don't know what else is being nominated, what else is coming out.
Killers of the Flower Moon is still on the way, so we don't know what the hell is going to go on that.
At the very, I think Dumb Money, given how films like that do if they're good, and it's Craig Gillespie who's had success in the past. Dumb Money has a good chance of being up there too.
I mean, and it's not just you, Chris, but I've seen a lot of people online going like, "Oh, these people are locks to wins." Like, no, like
we haven't even entered Oscar season yet. So
the only person I didn't have a chance to maybe win Robert Downey Jr. Everybody else is fair game.
Yeah, I still disagree with you on that because like it's one of those ones like because it depends on how strong those acting races is. Like it could turn out these acting races could be really strong this back half of the year that Robbie Downey Jr. could maybe just miss out just barely. It's one of those ones like movies that come out really in the year. It's really hard for them to get into that picture just because of how early they came out. But I think this one and even Barbie, I think they're two strong possibilities just for the fact of how much money they actually made, I think. But yeah, like going back to the movie, like for someone who has only ever heard the name Oppenheimer, and his famous quote, "I've become death, destroyer of worlds," or whatever it is, which apparently
now
was
I
never,
have become death.
yeah, which apparently he found in a Arabic text, which, as I found out,
it's part of the
having sex?
It's part of the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu text. Yeah.
But I think Christopher Nolan proved sort of why he really loves history and all that, because he gave us a history lesson for who this person is. Whether or not it all is actually happened, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think it was just really good. I think the length is one that I did feel a lot, and I think there's definitely moments where it just felt to get really slow for me. I'm not like Jordan Anderson's like, oh yeah, it's a 3. This is a solid 4.5. I'm probably going to rewatch this again to see if I feel better about it. But yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't like movies where people talk in rooms a lot.
Yeah. I think I think this movie does almost require a second watch because there is so much going on in it that like you kind of need to give it a second go just to really nail everything down. I was gonna say I'll throw it to you next, Chris, but because you guys were talking about the performances there, obviously like you can't just fill Best Supporting Actor with 5 people from this film, but so much of the love is going to the stars. I wanted to shout out a couple of the smaller actors who did a really great job. Benny Safdie as Edward Teller, I thought was excellent in this. Tom Conti as Albert Einstein for the small part he had, I thought was great.
Josh Hartnett.
Hartnett, great. Dane DeHaan was excellent for the small bit that he's in it. Alden Ehrenreich going back and forth with Robert Downey Jr., I thought he was really good. And honestly, like aside from Robert Downey Jr., the one person in this movie who I may actually like legitimately vouch for a nomination, I love David Krumholtz in this as his sort of confidant, like the person who is always definitively by his side. I thought he was excellent, considering like his entire career can basically be summed up to fucking numbers and the Santa Claus. Like to see him in something like this.
Hey, don't forget Harold and Kumar with Goldstein.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, Harold and Kumar. Yep.
Yeah.
But to see him in something like this, like I didn't even recognize him the first time when I saw his name in the credits.
I didn't recognize him till like the last 10 minutes of the movie, and then I was like, "Oh, it's David." Oh, there was David. That was David Krumholtz.
Like, who the hell is he?
Yeah, he was unrecognizable. Yeah.
I mean, even Josh Peck from Drake and Josh was in this as well.
I didn't recognize him at all.
I thought all those guys were good for the small bits they had. Josh Peck, I immediately was like, oh yeah, that's Josh Peck. Like him and Jack Quaid were the two that threw me off. Like Jack Quaid, I saw and immediately I was like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
I mean, he's lost a lot of weight from Drake and Josh days.
For sure.
I mean, to go on the other side, Florence Pugh was great in the movie as well.
Shout out to also Casey Affleck. He had that one really good scene with him killing Murphy. I forget the other actor.
Yeah, no, he's great. Rami Malek is great for the little bit that he's in
My
it.
boy, who I didn't even know was in the movie, James Remar, in the scene where they're talking about dropping the bomb and where to drop it, shows up as like the director.
Oh,
of,
the
like,
secretary,
Secretary of Defense. Like, I didn't know he was in it, and James Remar all of a sudden pops up
and
as that
David
dude talking about it. Like, he was great. Yeah,
and David Dastmalin also having a good year this year.
David Dastmalin.
Yeah.
Dastmalin, yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody in this movie was bad by any means, but top to bottom, I thought they were. Gary Oldman in one scene.
Yeah.
It took me a second watch to figure out it was him, but the other guy that's with Robert Downey Jr. So it's Downey, it's Alden Ehrenreich, and then there's the third guy that's with them in the scenes. That's Scott Grimes, the voice of the son on American Dad, and he's also in the Orville with Seth Rogen.
Oh yeah.
Like, this movie's cast is incredibly insane, and everyone is excellent in it. Chris, I'll go to you for your thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is my favorite movie of the year so far. It passed live for my number one. A movie I've seen twice already. I took my parents to see it for my second time. It just something you pick up on. Like, I didn't realize until second watch of what happens for Peter that they kind of leave it open ended with a suicide letter. She got killed. Covered the whole letter, no signed letter. You see the hand above her putting her head in the water at one point at one of these possible scenarios. Like, I thought she was great. Jason Clarke had to get a shout out too. I thought he was so good in the movie, going head to head with Ken Murphy and that whole interrogation stuff. Like, a hit performance, I thought got better second.
Was the other guy that was a part of the board? Was that Modine?
Yeah, Matthew Modine was in there. Yeah,
and Tony Goodwin as well for Scandal and Tarzan and everything. Yeah.
We keep naming actors. There's Alex Wolff was one of the scientists as well from Hereditary.
I thought Emily Blunt was really good. I think that scene alone, one of my favorite scenes in the movie, was they interviewed to the end and she turned the table on Jason Clarke a lot. Great thing, great laughter, like one or two funny moments in the film that get good laugh. Like, she got insulting him. And Matt Damon, also really good in the movie. I thought he was great, and he brought what needed comedy when needed at moments, like to break up the tension. What did they do about him? Oh, we didn't kill him. Just kidding. But yeah, I love this film overall. I think my fan Killing Murphy performance that not TV related, and it might be in my top 3 favorite Robert Downey Jr. performance. Passionately on second viewing, watching his acting, that playing that friendly scene, and then you start to watch everything unravel. You see the person he really is on second view. I think it's interesting to watch. And that meltdown scene alone would get him an Oscar nomination. That's the clip they do use at the Oscars, that whole meltdown sequence. Same with Emily Blunt in the interview, she get nominated. Like, everybody top notch. This is my favorite ensemble this year. It might win Best Ensemble unless Dune really knock out the park, and Dune could with the ensemble too.
This is a great comparison from Peck. It's like the JFK of the 2020s.
I don't like JFK though as a movie.
I don't love it either. But the cast comparison, because that movie has so many people in it.
I get the sentiment, but because
this is a far better film than JFK.
Yeah, I think it's a way better film than JFK. I'm not a fan of JFK.
It might be my favorite.
Yeah. Also, some asshole in the chat. Everyone from Hollywood is in it.
Yeah.
Well, let's be real though. If you weren't in Oppenheimer that weekend, you were in Barbie that weekend. Everyone from Hollywood was in the theaters that weekend.
It might be my favorite Nolan. I had to think about it, but definitely in my top 3 favorite Nolan movie.
All right, Austin. I'm gathering from the comments that you like it, but what are your general thoughts?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's still in my top 10. Like, I don't know where it'll end up because I've had quite a few 9.5s, 10, like, not like a ton, but like, I don't know where it'll land. We'll have to see. And I might actually be going to see it again tomorrow. I was letting it settle for a couple of weeks and then I can go back and watch it. I have a dead day tomorrow. I've already seen all the new releases, so I think it'll be my Oppenheimer viewing number 2 tomorrow. But yeah, like I am a kind of a fan of learning about this era, and yeah, I was familiar with Oppenheimer. My dad's a big history buff, so like I knew who Oppenheimer was going into this, at least a lot of the basic players. But yeah, really getting into the nitty gritty of the science. I think Nolan handles it really well as far as you don't have to have a huge knowledge of science. I think they do some good visual stuff with like the marbles in the jar as far as like how close they're getting, to making the bomb. Like there's some nice visual cues that you can kind of follow, as far as the nice, they do constantly comparing it. Yeah. Like is it balloons and things, trying to figure it out. So there's a lot of science stuff in there, but I think Nolan does a good job of finding that balance where you can still figure out what's going on, but he doesn't play you like you're stupid. You know what I mean? He expects you to keep up, but in that good way of where like you're engaged in it. You're going from scene to scene. The progression of where they're getting to, where they eventually get to, what is happening. One of my favorite sequences, not only besides the James Remar sequence, like I said, where they're, he's literally saying, "Oh, we can't bomb this place. We go there for my honeymoon," or whatever. Like it's a touristy place. Just
a lovely city.
Yeah, or the sequence where he's just pacing around, waiting for them to actually drop the bomb and get the news, and then we don't, obviously see it. We just kind of get the reactions to it. We get the speech on the radio, from Truman, and then that sequence. Oh my God, that sequence where he's making that speech in like the gym or whatever it was, and he's seeing like the charred bodies and the shaking and the, I think it did a great job of feeling what we feel and his sort of, I don't know what you would call it. Yeah, his OCD or ADD, whatever's going on in his head, where he's thinking on a completely different level, and what's going on in his brain. We're almost kind of with him in that, and I think again that's terrific, and the performances really sell that on me. The sex scenes and the nude scenes are weird, but I think the movie itself has a weird vibe, so I kind of rolled with it. I thought it was interesting that all of a sudden they're naked in a room, talking to each other, just sitting in chairs, having a conversation. I at the same time, Oppenheimer's a weird enough guy to where it didn't feel out of place to me. Like I thought it was,
listen, man, as someone who has been in weird situations like that before, sometimes you do. One of my I swear to God, I wish this was a joke. One of my best friends, when I worked at the movie theater years ago, legitimately, I had texted him while he was with his girlfriend, and it was about something for work. Saw the text when they were finished, and no joke, while they're lying in bed afterwards, FaceTimes me, trying to keep her off the camera. We talk for 30 minutes, and at the end of the conversation, I see somebody move, and I realize she's in bed with him, and he just goes, "Yeah, man, you were basically the downtime before round 2." Hangs up the phone, and I swear to God, sometimes weird shit happens. So I totally buy that Oppenheimer and was it Jean Tatlock? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I totally buy that they were mid-fuck, and she was like, "Hold up, get a book, read a language to me, and then let's continue."
Let's keep going. Yeah, and that's the weird in between. Yeah,
weird shit happens.
I buy it. Yeah, there are weird people like that, and that's fine. And yeah, they dance around him being like a sort of a weird ladies' man, intellectual ladies' man, or whatever he is. He
having two affairs, but the free affair to be applied. But I didn't realize to the second view that he had an affair with the other wife of one of the people that were working the project.
Yeah, no, he was fucking everything in the movie. Like that's pretty well known. He was. He it wasn't just them. It was more people than that. It was all kinds of college students and things. But yeah, he was not the most savory guy as far as that goes. But yeah, that's. I enjoy it. Like I didn't mind the length. I thought the length went by pretty fast. I don't mind a longer movie as long as you keep it moving, you justify it. It doesn't feel like it drags. I enjoyed all the stuff, and I've heard the criticism of once the bomb drops, everything afterwards. But I'm a sucker for a good, intense hearings, courtroom kind of stuff, and that's what most of the last hour is. And I'm a sucker for that stuff. I would
say. Because for a few minutes in the theater, I was feeling that. I would once we get past the speech in the auditorium, I was like, I feel like this should be starting to wrap up, but I know it's not because I know how long it is. And I was feeling that for a few minutes. But then when the movie really gets back into it, people who were out there already proclaiming, it's Cillian Murphy's Oscar, it's Robert Downey Jr.'s Oscar to lose. That last 40 minutes that a lot of people are saying you could have cut, that's where they win their Oscar. Let's be real.
The stuff with Downey at the hearings and his kind of blow up and, when everything kind of blows up in his face. Yeah, it's really, really good. I love the back and forth between Jason Clarke and Emily Blunt in that one sequence. It's legitimately
his best really acting in 20 years.
Yeah, no, it's good, and so I dug all that stuff. I'm a sucker for that sort of thing. I'm the weirdo who will watch that shit on C-SPAN, so I don't care. Yeah,
and I think I never argue. I think Robert Downey Jr. performance get better rewatch because then you're watching the beginning, watching the way he acts during the hearing, but watching.
Yeah.
you can see it sort of the seeds of, if you don't know, like,
Yeah.
because like I'm aware enough of the story. I didn't know the deep details of it, but I was aware enough of the general story that, like, when I realized Downey was playing Strauss, I was like, okay, I vaguely know who he was and what his role was in all of this.
Yeah.
But it is certainly, when you rewatch it, you can see the subtleties in the performance of, like, this is definitely building from the start. And I do think, like, as much as the Oppenheimer stuff is great, like, it's why I give a lot of credit to Alden Ehrenreich. Like, the back and forth between the two of them, I think is really, really good. And the idea that, like, Ehrenreich starts out as this, like, because the character's not named, he's just like an assistant or whatever, but just the idea that he's this guy that looks up to the political career and the political intrigue of someone like, it's Jim Strauss, right? That's his first name.
Something like that, yeah.
Like, he looks up to Strauss. And then the deeper it goes and the more that the story is told, you sort of see that veil drop and his perception of him changes. And then you get to the end of the film and he's throwing his own lines back in his face. And it's like, it's genuinely, it's some of the best. Like, again, while Robert Downey Jr. was a brilliant Iron Man, there was, like, a legitimate contingency of people who were upset that he did not win an Oscar for playing Iron Man, especially in Avengers Endgame. No. This is what you win the Oscar for.
This is the career Oscar that they give you to say, hey, you've had a hell of a career. Here's your Oscar. Like, and
argue. I mean, there's a legitimate argument, and there's probably one or two films in the middle I haven't seen that could compete. This might be his best performance in 30 years. We're talking Chaplin. Like, he is excellent.
He's so good.
Yeah, it just takes the right role, the right director, the right script, everything. And yeah, I think it's definitely his time for sure. Yeah, Cillian Murphy, we don't know because there's more leading actor.
There's more leads to come.
Yeah, there's more leads to come. I mean, Leo could get it again. It's him and Scorsese. Never underestimate him and Scorsese. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the only competence if you Robert Downey Jr. have is Robert De Niro, from what I've been hearing about Killing the Fallon.
Right. Well, who's the lead? It's De Niro, or it's DiCaprio that's the lead. Yeah. De Niro would go under supporting, right?
Supporting.
Yeah, but it'd be him
against Downey.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're saying Downey. Gotcha.
Because it's De Niro and Scorsese again. Again, some of the best work, collaboration-wise. You know what I mean? So
when's the last time De Niro won an Oscar?
Or even nominated? It's a while. I'll look it up.
Well, he was nominated. No, he wasn't nominated for The Irishman, wasn't he?
No. Pacino was, right?
Pacino and Pesci.
Yeah, that's the putting out there. I feel like it would be Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr.
See, this is why I don't think Ryan Gosling gets nominated, because there's too many good options.
And then I'm really hoping Austin would
nominated for Silver Linings Playbook, supporting.
Was he nominated for that?
Yeah, he was nominated for that. Yeah.
The only other nomination I would love to see for Best Supporting Actor, Austin, you may agree with me, is Glenn Harrington for The Blackberry.
And they've already said they're going to push. They're going to try pushing for him.
Yeah. I liked him a lot in that movie. Yeah, and before that, him and Scorsese, Cape Fear for leading. So, okay.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's been a while, but then he got a lot back in the day. Raging Bull, Deer Hunter, Taxi Driver.
Yeah, we got a lot of shit films.
He won for Godfather 2, you know what I mean? Obviously, but yeah. I forget about Silver Linings Playbook. He's nominated for that. But yeah, anyways, just to kind of wrap up. I'm pretty much done with my thoughts for the most part. I just think I appreciate that Nolan went back to more of a straightforward movie. I did not enjoy Tenet. I just think he did a movie that only he understands and told everybody else to fuck off if you don't get it. Like, oh, watch it 8 more times and you'll understand. Like, no, I shouldn't have to watch it 8 times to understand it. Like, once or twice, sure, but like,
I mostly got it after 2.
I still don't understand what the fuck happened in that movie or in the jargon. Like, and if you're that pretentious to where you're naming your character protagonist, like, fuck off. Like, that's stupid. Like, give him a name. Like, you tell me you couldn't get Malcolm. You're saying a lot, but you're muted.
I can't even understand Tenet watching it in reverse.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I mean. And so at least he went back to. Again, Dunkirk works better on a rewatch, but at least it's like it's more grounded in reality. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate that he went back to a movie just more grounded in reality and but still doing his sort of style. So I hope he does more stuff like this going forward. You know, he can always go back and make a goofy movie later.
Yeah. Hopefully he does it. Hopefully he does it too right.
I'll throw this up as we move on from Oppenheimer because it's an interesting question coming from Peck in the chat. It's what movie genre that Chris Nolan has never tapped?
What are we doing? Battleground? All right, here we go. Let's go. No, I don't want to.
Honestly, I may steal that. That's a hell of a question. I may steal that.
Western.
He follows it up with the. I was gonna say if you'd rather than thinking of suggesting when he follows it up, he basically says comedy, suggesting the fact that Doctor Strangelove, like Kubrick, did a comedy, but then also Nolan has openly said he's a fan of comedies like Talladega Nights and MacGruber. Like Keith Schaefer was like, yeah, Nolan reached out to me when we made the show and was like openly supportive of it.
Yeah, I'd say Western.
Western.
Western
That would be my answer. An epic style John Ford style Western made by Christopher.
I was thinking because we're getting video game adaptation. We're playing Red Dead Redemption right now on my PS5. Like he'd be a good director to do something like Red Dead Redemption, which the like.
It's incredibly ironic that you bring up Red Dead Redemption. That movie's not getting made ever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dive into it because it's not movie news. But if you guys want to read a CEO of a company say the most generic fucking financial words you've ever heard, go look up the head of Rockstar's interview recently he gave, and he was asked about a Red Dead movie, and my God, just how the fuck do some of these people become in charge of companies of this size?
It's sad because that could work at a TV over a movie, pretty much.
I think Red Dead Redemption works better as a TV show.
There's so many stories within that, dude.
I think it's too cinematic as is. Why would you adapt it? Like adapting it only, unless you do it like you did with The Last of Us, where you're adding shit and changing things as you're going. It's just that's the problem with a lot of games is they're either too cinematic that you have to change it, otherwise you're retreading, or there's just not enough there that you have to add something.
Well, that's actually where I was going.
I'm sorry.
I didn't think Last of Us would work at all because of knowing that it was a very cinematic game as it is. But I think it's one of those ones like if they do it as a TV show, I think it's what can go either way. It either works or it doesn't.
I changed my mind. Do a movie. I don't watch TV shows. I forgot. I don't have time.
Austin's like, I want to see it, but I don't want to watch that much of it.
I don't have time for TV shows. I got too many goddamn movies I gotta watch.
I'm the same, honestly. I don't
have time. There's too many damn TV shows. I can see all the
so many brilliant TV shows that I will never watch.
I can go to my Regal every week and watch every movie that comes out. I can't watch every TV show that comes out. There's too many damn many of them.
But yeah. But to answer that question, I'm curious to see if Christopher Nolan would ever venture into like the world of animation, because that could be interesting to see to see what Del Toro could do with the animation. It kind of makes me interested, especially if he wants if Nolan wants to try and do a stop motion type thing. I don't know. I don't know how he is with animation there. I think he could.
I think he'd do very well in a Wes Anderson or Del Toro style of working with an experienced stop motion director and going that route. Yeah, he could certainly, because at that point you don't literally, when you co-pair with someone, you don't have to literally handle every element of directing the animation. You can have somebody handle that part of it for you while you handle the other stuff.
But going back to one of the points I was trying to make when I was muted with Ryan Gosling, it's one of it's for that reason, because I think that supporting actors are going to be stacked anyway. It's why I think that if they want to try and get Gosling another nomination, see if Warner Bros. Might try to push him as lead to see if they can get him that best
lead would be really tacked as well. Like that.
That's the thing. We don't know too much about where they're thinking of putting one, because there's an argument that he's more supporting than lead in Barbie, but it's really between.
Why are we going back to Barbie? Let's move on to Mission Impossible.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. No, I get what he was saying, because we were talking about all the supporting actors. I get what he was going for there. We'll go ahead and jump into the final film here.
And on that note, I'm going to jump out. I haven't seen it.
Okay. Oh yeah, go ahead. Malcolm, thanks for joining, man. We will see you next time that you're on. Go ahead and hop out, man. We'll go ahead and move into Mission Impossible. And speaking of Mission Impossible, Matt, you were watching a sports game. Did they win?
Yes, they did. I mean, it doesn't count because it's preseason, but they won. It's fun. And there's definitely things to talk about when I recap the game.
Aw. Hello, Kitty.
He's a dick, so.
I'm sure there'll be one of those.
He's a pussy. With that said, we're gonna jump into Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
Part 1.
Part 1, yeah, right. You know the studio's regretting spending all that money on Part 2 right now. They're like, oh fuck. No, okay, so here's the thing, and I think it's part of the reason why this movie may not have hit as hard as it could have. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors that affected the box office of this movie, right? The fact that it competed against Barbenheimer, the fact that it came out midweek, but it had all these pre-screenings, so it like technically released on a Sunday, given how many screenings it had ahead of time. The fact that it lost all of its PLF theaters very quickly, like there's so many things that affected the box office of this film that there's a reason it's a disaster. That said, while this movie is awesome and it's really good, it's not the best in a franchise that for a number of years had the perception of continuing to top itself every time. And while I don't quite agree with that, I don't think Rogue Nation is a better film than Ghost Protocol. Generally speaking, since Mission Impossible 2, the franchise has been on an upward trend every time. This is the first time where I don't think they've made a film better than the last one, and I think that does partially affect the franchise. The movie's excellent. The stunts are excellent. The acting is excellent in this. But I just don't think that there's anything in this movie outside of the cliff jump that we haven't seen a variation of in another film that puts this above the rest. I think the villain's a step back. I really like Isai Morales, but he just doesn't have the screen presence that Henry Cavill does. The fact that the villain is technically an AI, while it makes for great commentary within the film, and I think it'll carry through to the next part. Again, it's a villain you can't see, and it means that the villain you are dealing with is the villain's right-hand man. It'd be the equivalent of a Bond film where Blofeld is the villain, but Blofeld's off screen the whole time, sending texts to Oddjob to do his bidding for him. Like, it doesn't quite work, in my opinion. And when I say it doesn't quite work, I give the film a 9 out of 10. I think it's exceptional. But when we're comparing it to the scale that this franchise is working on, I think it's a step back. And so I think that also affected it, because I think people generally looked at this movie, and if they didn't see it before all the big things that blew it out of the water came out, I think they just kind of went, oh, I'll wait. Matt, I'll go to you first, since this is the only film you're here for.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's better than the last one. I think Fallout is that was gonna be tough to beat either way, because it was truly fantastic. But I think you can make a case that it might be the second best. Like, I liked more than Ghost Protocol.
Since I talk about rankings,
but still,
I think Ghost Protocol is better, and I think Fallout's better, but it's still third. It's still good.
Right. It's probably my second, because I'm not as big on Ghost Protocol as some people are, even though it's still a really good movie. But, yeah, I really had a good time with this movie. My main complaint, really, it's not with, like, the villain or any of the acting. I did feel like it was a bit too long. I think if they would have trimmed a little bit of it down, instead of making it nearly 3 hours, I think it would have been better. And I think, if it would have been 2.5 hours, it might have helped in the box office a little too. Probably could have got an extra screening in there per day at each theater. But, like Aaron said, I think the acting's great in this movie. The action is fantastic in the movie. I don't really have a lot to complain about with this film. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't have much to complain about either. It's still one of my favorite movies of the year. And I think, when you're saying, oh, it's not one of the best in the series, coming from a franchise that arguably, if they stick the landing at part 2, has a shot of being the greatest action franchise ever made, period. You could make a hell of a Battleground argument for that it's the greatest action franchise that's ever been put to screen. Even
Stop pitching your future wins, Pez. Come on.
I know, man. Going into it, but like saying, this one's a 9 out of 10 when Fallout's a 10 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, a step down from an amazing movie to a, pretty damn amazing movie. Like it's like, I still think we're privileged to have these types of movies, the type of care that Tom Cruise puts into these things to make a compelling story, to make to have great characters. I think the lack of like a Henry Cavill is still made up for by a better leading lady. I love Haley Atwell in this movie. I think she's phenomenal in this movie. I think she adds a ton to this, getting that sort of common person perspective, a person that's not a super spy, that's not like a super thing. Like I love Rebecca Ferguson, but when she gets introduced in those movies, she's a mega spy. Like she's a badass, And
we get to that.
We already have that. We get almost like how I like Sicario with like the Emily Blunt, and Sicario is like this outsider who's not like part of this world, getting a person that's thrown into this world who has skills. She can hold her own in certain aspects, but is not like a Mary Sue in that like she immediately can jump in and do everything that Tom Cruise can do, but she can pick his pockets, she can outsmart him here and there, she can hold her own in certain aspects, and she's great, and she learns along the way and adapts. I still like Vanessa Kirby in this. She's fun. Bringing back Kittredge I thought was great, because he just brings a presence about him. That dude could just narrate the hell out of damn near anything, and he's got that voice where I can listen to that dude read the damn dictionary. I think he's great. I think the only really nitpicks I have is with I think the Shea Wiggum character is kind of unnecessary. You could have dumped him out. I think Tom Cruise has enough people chasing after him in this movie that you don't need Shea Wiggum.
It does provide some really good comedy to the end with him.
A little bit, but at the same time, I think you could have, to Matt's thing, you could have cut their scenes that would have cut 10 minutes out of the movie, and I think he would have fixed the complaints. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you've already got. You could have replaced that with Henry Czerny running around and sending his goons trying to get Tom Cruise, and have him be in the movie a little bit more. You still have the Palm Clementov character coming after him. You still have Vanessa Kirby and then Isai Morales all kind of still following. You know what I mean? Like you didn't need another group following him.
I didn't like the way I would describe it is I didn't think Shea Wiggum, and I believe the other guy's name is Tarzan Davies, I think is his name.
Yeah.
I didn't think either of them were bad, but certainly in a film where you are kind of left going, you could have shaved a little bit out of this. They're what you shave. Because they are unnecessary.
Because, you don't need...
That said, I wonder if they're going to be more important in the second film because they are coming back.
Well, and so again, this might be a situation, and I haven't seen it yet, but from what I've heard, this might be a situation like Dune, when you watch it back-to-back with Part 2 when that comes out, maybe it flows better. Maybe you have these connective tissues that get picked up immediately, and it just works with a greater story, because, yes, it's
actually...
Kind of,
well, no. So I'm going to support your theory because I'm going to compare to Dune real quickly. In Dune, do you know who left me with a lot of the same feeling that these two did? Dave Bautista, where I was like, Dave Bautista was fine, and what little we saw of the character I thought worked within the context of the story, but I'm kind of left going, why the fuck did we need this extra guy here? Especially when I know in Part 2 we're going to get, who is now played by Austin Butler, that character. It's like, I feel like we could have just skipped a step and brought him in here. Now, maybe if Bautista has more to do in the second one,
he does have a little bit more to do
for all this, then it would make it work a bit better. But that's kind of who I'd compare. I think you're spot on there. There's a potential for this to improve.
At the same time, I didn't leave this movie much like Fast X. Like, it doesn't literally end on a cliffhanger, so I left a little more satisfied as a complete movie, to where it's like, yes, we left the threads that are open to continue the story, but I still feel like there is a conclusion to where this one kind of leaves it. We just have more to do. You know what I mean?
Fast X ends on a cliffhanger in that it literally ends the story mid-beat and leaves you with how the fuck are they going to continue this?
Yeah, no, this one has the Henry Czerny thing where he's like kind of doing the narration to like wrap it up.
But we don't know where that ends in context of the next movie, because that is a future mission briefly.
This movie, when this movie, they say this movie ends on a cliffhanger, aside from the final set piece literally being hanging off a cliff, this movie more so it tells you what the plot of the next film is going to be. Like, it directly says this is what we're doing in the next part.
Yeah,
but it's not a cliffhanger ending. It ends this part of the story. It ends with Tom Cruise beating Isai Morales in this moment in time. He's got the upper hand.
And then I get Kittredge back in contact with them with that mission briefing.
Yeah, so he's on the offensive now instead of on the defensive throughout the movie. He has the advantage. He's going to be on the offensive going towards the thing. He will have the advantage. Like, again, the perspective will flip. Isai Morales will be catching up to Tom Cruise in the next movie instead of the other way around.
My only complaint kind of, because I thought Henry Czerny was great in this film as Kittredge.
Yeah.
My only concern with him is with the script. Is he supposed to be a good guy or a bad guy? What the fuck
We still don't know. We still don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
like it was just
Yeah.
utterly confusing at times what they were trying to do with that character, but like not in an interesting way, and more of a, at least for me, and more of a frustrating. Like, what is the point of this guy? Because he could play either role well, but like, because I mean, like obviously Carrie always wound up being a shit weasel, but it's like, what is the whose side are you on? Like.
Doing a pretty convincing American accent for the movie, Carrie Elway.
Oh yeah, Elway's has had a great American accent for years. Henry Czerny's had a great accent for years.
Yeah. Well, again, maybe in part 2 we'll get it settled that Henry Czerny is a good guy. He is on the side of Tom. You know what I mean? Like we'll get a conclusion to that. Like I think we will.
Maybe it's because I only watched the films for the first time leading into this because I wanted to see this in theaters, but I'd never seen any of them. So I watched the first one.
You and Jacob Barbie.
I watched the first one. I watched them 1 week at a time. So I watched this 6 weeks before the film came out. Yeah. And in that film, I was left with the feeling of, I don't trust this guy 100%. But in this film, in this instance, I understand why he was led to believe what he was led to believe. But also, once he realizes the truth, he's immediately on the good guy side. Right. Whereas in this film, it was very confusing as to whose side he is playing for.
Well, and I think they even make a kind of an inside joke on the whole series as well when the Greg Davis guy, the Shea Wiggum's partner, is like, yeah, but what if Tom Cruise is like going rogue for all the right reasons, which is every movie in the Mission Impossible thing of like, oh, Tom Cruise Ethan went rogue, but yeah, it was like for the right reasons, and we find out that in every movie, it's kind of.
I can see you jumping at the seams. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Aaron and Matt know my biggest gripe with this movie, and I've been on call with them a few times talking about this. I love this movie. I do a 9.5 and 9.8 out of 10 for me.
9.8. That's so specific.
But my biggest issue, and it maybe get resolved in part 2. I don't love that they kill Ilsa off, and it did bother me more.
Kill who off? Carrie Elway?
No,
Ilsa.
Ilsa?
Yeah.
She might not be.
So you can explain yourself before we jump in.
Because
I disagree.
Yeah. Because they set her up to be this more, awesome assassin that she know every move. She know how to outdo a lot of people. And it bothered me more in second view that she easily was outmatched by Gabriel up to the point to stick a freaking knife into what looked like to be her heart. Like, that she couldn't outmaneuver him. And it just feel like they didn't do the fake that in the beginning, didn't bother me too much, but that whole, she faked her death. She come back, then she dies for real this time, in the film. And who knows, maybe she is alive in part 2. That maybe my issue would be resolved in part 2.
No, I don't want her to be alive. Stay dead.
My fan theory is this. I think Esai Morales has kind of got some implants and he's like a cyborg, kind of. That's why we haven't seen him in forever. I think the AI has got him implanted some stuff, and that we're going to find out that he can communicate with the AI, because otherwise, how the fuck is he talking to this AI thing just in the middle of a club? You know what I mean, or something. I think he's got some kind of brain things. It's a weird comparison to make, but how in Simon Phoenix in Demolition Man, while he's in the cryo freeze, gets stuff implanted into him to where he's all of a sudden like a master fighter and a computer hacker and all this kind of stuff. That do that. I think Esai Morales got some stuff implanted in him by this AI system. He just gave himself over to be the human, part of, not that he's like a literal cyborg where he's like the T-1000 or whatever, you know what I mean? But I think he's got some enhancements or something.
Looking like Jason Clarke in Genesis.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think he's that, but I think we're going to find out he's had some enhancements to where it made him a better fighter. That's why he's able to go toe to toe with somebody like Rebecca Ferguson, and also he's able to communicate with this thing in live time. Yeah. I think we're going to find out something like that. That's my theory.
By the way, I will try out Palm. How do you say her last name?
Clementi.
Amazing, really good performance. And go to show that she can be more than that Mantis in Johnny Galaxy. She's really great, but not a lot of dialogue being threatening and scary as hell.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say about Ilsa's death. The part I agree with you on is they shouldn't have done the fake out at the start. I think it's redundant to fake out the same character you're going to kill later. Here's my thing with so I've said before, when I think about movies, I think about them from a logistics point of view because I think about the writing aspect and all that. I think in order to make Isai Morales this villain like the most threatening, because you have to for this to be a two-parter, you have to make him the most threatening.
That's why he's a cyborg.
I figured somebody was going to die.
Yeah.
And so logistically, when you're thinking of like who can they kill? Well, realistically, the only three characters who have been in enough of these that would have an impact is Luther, Benji, and Ilsa. I immediately in my head ruled out Benji because his whole shtick is I'm not really a field agent, but if I'm forced to, I will be one. And so I just think it's a little brutal to kill him in the field. And so my 50-50 bet in my head was I think they could kill Luther because, you know, he's the eye in the sky. He's the guy away from the fight. So if you can find a way to get to him and kill him.
And he's been with Ethan since the first movie. Like that could also.
Or I think they would kill Ilsa because she's the one emotionally that's probably closest to him, maybe aside from Luther, but certainly romantically there's something there. And it's just a trope in these films to kill the love interest, right? I mean, we saw that with Bond 10 years ago, right? They killed Eva Green's character to set up an emotional arc. Was it Eva Green or Eva Mendes?
Eva Green.
Eva Green. They killed her character to then set up an emotional arc that played through the next four films, right? Like it's a thing that they do in films like this. The moment, because I didn't know how big Haley Atwell's role was going to be, I'd never really looked into it. The moment I realized she was going to be a co-lead that was around for the bulk of this film, that's when I went, Ilsa's dead. Like, it's going to happen. In terms of how it was executed, I didn't mind it because, again, we know so little about Isai Morales that while I don't think physicality-wise he's all that intimidating, we don't know what his background is. We don't know what his connection to Cruz is. Like, he could very easily be an incredibly skilled, trained fighter, and we just haven't been given that information yet. So we can't really compare to the three films we've seen Elsa in. But also, emotionally, she was not in a clear headspace in that moment. It was very she was very, she was kind of rushing. It was very panicky. It was a tension-filled moment for everyone. I mean, we saw what you could see of it because it wasn't the best lit scene, but the fight in the alleyway, like Cruz is sort of making mistakes and slipping up as well because he's not emotionally in the right headspace in this moment to be dealing with all of this because somebody he's close to is about to get killed. And so I think it can make enough sense there. She's not clear. She's worried about protecting this girl. She's worried about Ethan, and he can take advantage of that and nick her real quick. You're done. Boom. Goodbye. I thought it was the right choice. I think someone needed to die in this film. I think only two choices made any sense. And, yeah, Luther has been around since the first one. So to kill him is really to go big. So she makes the most sense logistically. I also think her career is at a point now where she can branch off and go do her own thing, and she may not need these films anymore.
Well, I also don't. What else do you do with her character in these movies? I think her character kind of.
She's
just
too, like
because
Atwell got more development in one film than she had.
Right, but also this series is not about. At least since they kind of broke away from Michelle Monaghan's character, it's not about romance. So I think you go about as far as you can go with the Rebecca Ferguson character because Tom Cruise still cares about his wife, even though she's with Wes Bentley now or whatever.
Yes.
So but I mean, like he's still got that attachment. But this series has never really been about romance, like in Bond, sometimes. So you go about as far as you can go with the Rebecca Ferguson character. You use her as a thing. You have Haley Atwell to take over kind of for part two to fill that role, with a unique perspective on it. So I think it's fine. Like
I think if anyone needs to come back in the final film, if there's one character in this franchise that needs to come back in the final film, if it is the final film,
Jeremy Renner.
Leave Ilsa dead. Bring back Renner because he's legitimately good.
He's still out there and he's really good, and he's proven that he's both a field guy and a good side guy. Yeah, and I feel he got the shaft in Rogue Nation, just being like the dude talking to Alec Baldwin the whole movie. You know what I mean? When he was, I love those scenes. But I would not be surprised if they have not announced it, but he is secretly in part 2.
In the movie,
I would not be surprised if he. If they
Can
filmed this stuff before his accident, that's all I'll say.
As someone who saw all these films years after, so this is a sentiment that I'm bringing in years later. I loved Alan Baldwin in these films. My God, I was actually sad when they killed his character off. I really liked him in those movies.
He's kind of perfect.
I can neither confirm or deny.
He was perfect for that role. I would have loved to have seen him hung around more.
The guy just constantly bitching about everybody doing everything. No, it works. Renner is a guy who, if they're going to bring back anybody for the final thing. I think wrap his character up, because I feel like he didn't get a proper send off, because he never has any interaction directly with Tom Cruise in Rogue Nation. It's like over the phone or whatever, just talking to him. Bring him in. It doesn't have to be a lot. Like, he can show up for the finale or show up in the middle of the movie
scenes,
or whatever.
yeah.
Help him out with something. Say your goodbyes, whatever.
I still think, again, talking about people who are in this movie who aren't announced, if this movie was filmed as the conclusion of this franchise, I think there's a shot Michelle Monaghan shows up. And maybe even Wes Bentley.
100%. Yeah, she will make an appearance for sure. I think, because
even also dead, they might bring her back for the flashback like that.
No, leave her dead. Come on.
I don't need flashbacks. I don't need. But yeah, Michelle
Chris,
Monaghan.
I get that you love Rebecca Ferguson.
That's fine. She did
leave her on that bridge.
Michelle Monaghan
in France. Was it France? Is that where they were at?
Yeah. Michelle Monaghan, I think, is 100% shows up for something in part 2, because she's still a big part of the franchise. I think Jeremy Renner about a 75% chance. I think it would be smart to at least give him a wrap-up scene of something, either helping with him, talking to whatever, some kind of interaction.
Or setting up the next mission at the end of the movie. Like, he can just show up at the new Secretary of State.
Or something. But Renner, I feel like, got the shaft, because I do think, not that they were setting him up, I think, to be like the new Tom Cruise of the series.
No, they were.
Prominent. I mean, they kind of were, but
the producers have said as much. They were.
Right. But if that was the case, then why was he on the sideline for Rogue Nation? Like that's
because Cruise wouldn't walk away.
Yeah, I guess. But bring him back for something again if he's in good enough.
And I believe,
do so,
if my memory's correct, I believe for a large chunk of the production of Rogue Nation, he was still shooting Age of Ultron, so he may not have been, and that's why he's not in Fallout, because he was shooting Endgame.
Right.
So I think once he sort of realized, okay, this franchise is not becoming mine, he just let the other things take precedence, and his roles diminished and then not there at all.
Yeah.
Matt, I think you're trying to say something, but you're muted.
You're muted, yeah.
I'll say he was going to try to take over Bourne too, and that didn't work
Look
out.
how that turned out.
I like that movie. I get why they didn't.
I like it better than Nathan Bourne.
Whatever.
It's
not terrible.
It's better than Damon's Return.
Yeah, I think it's better than the last one.
Hey,
But
listen,
Hawkeye solo.
He ended up okay. He became Hawkeye. He's had plenty.
He
of
became
roles.
mayor of Kingstown. Like,
he's.
I'm sorry. I've heard things about season 2 of that show. I don't know if we're going to bet all our chips on that anymore.
Yeah.
But he's a good actor. He's done some good stuff. I like The Town, Wind River's good. he's done good work.
He's
the best thing about that.
Even Hurt Locker. He's the only
Hurt
reason
Locker's
to watch
good.
that movie.
Yeah, so he's a very good actor.
He is the best thing about that TV show.
And don't forget, he's a great musician too.
He's not the franchise Viagra that The Rock was, where they tried to revamp it with him and just didn't work. So it's fine. But he's
also
good.
If The Rock was franchise Viagra, then they got too used to him and it stopped working.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. It worked for a little while, but not enough.
I had to go off the juice and go back on it.
At least we're getting the final film next year and not getting pushed back because
as of now.
Well, they did say that they were going to do more.
I still say if you're going to do a third one, you do my pitch. Did you guys see my pitch on Facebook at all for Fast XXX, where Vin Diesel both star in the movie, Xander Cage and Dominic Toretto, and he crossed them over. Why the fuck not at this point, right?
You put Maverick and freaking.
While we're talking about Fast X, I want to go back to I'm gonna go back to Oppenheimer for a quick second because that comment that Vin made about if I can have any dream person in these films, Robert Downey Jr. Robert, you've seen your performance in Oppenheimer. Stay the fuck away from the Fast franchise.
Stay away.
Don't go there.
Well, at the same time, Robert Downey Jr. Can you
do Sherlock 3? That's fine.
Can you stay away from shit like Doolittle too? Like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Yeah, stay out of that.
Look, Doolittle is one of my favorite productions to read about.
But I mean, you don't, Downey. You got paid $50 million for Endgame. You don't need Doolittle in your life. You get paid enough for these movies. Fuck,
you guys know at one point that movie was a musical.
Oh God,
I think so.
Can it?
That got changed mid-production.
You know who I could see Robert Downey Jr. play?
They had shot song sequences, and then Stephen Gale.
Robert Downey Jr.'s done music. Like he has an album, but
he can say.
Shockingly, he never continued.
Yeah.
I will say Robert Downey Jr.
Most of the Avengers
do a franchise. If you want to go do Secret Wars, get $150 million. Go ahead and do that. But outside of that, do things with Nolan. do like, one-off movies and stuff where you can actually,
Downey, be in Scorsese's next
work
show.
on your performances.
Yeah,
be in Scorsese. The Irishman too. Be in that. Be in
Scorsese made me love Ray Romano in a dramatic performance. He can certainly work with you.
Look, be in Tarantino's last movie. Just stay away from Fast and Furious.
As the 35-year-old porn mag worker star of the film, Robert Downey Jr. Or
stay away from Fast and Furious. Stay away from all those. Stay away. I'll let James Gunn off you.
Join
really
James Gunn's DC. Be Lex Luthor.
He would be.
Be Lex.
That was having my head. Be a good Lex Luthor.
Shits that head.
He would be a good Lex Luthor. But he's got to do the Australian accent like he did in whatever
Tropic
movie.
Thunder?
I forget the name. No, like whatever. It was in like.
We can have to watch the Oppenheimer.
He played like the detective. Tarantino wrote
Kiss
it.
Bang Bang.
Yeah.
No, Tarantino wrote it. It's whatever film Tarantino wrote.
Natural Born Killers.
Yeah, Natural Born Killers. That's what I was talking about. We finally got there. We finally got there. Just like Fast XXX.
I'm telling you, man. If you're gonna do a third one, Fast XXX and Dominic Toretto and Xander Cage teaming up to save the world, man. Because there's only one other person more invincible than Dominic Toretto is Xander Cage. Come on, man. You can't tell me Vin Diesel's ego wouldn't be opposed to that. Come on, man. Acting against himself.
Let's go all out with that.
Only if we can get Neymar to reprise his role as the Brazilian XXX agent.
There you go. Do that, and you know what? Not only that, have the witch hunter in it too. Why not?
Oh God!
Like, let's just make Fast XXX just celebration of Vin Diesel movie roles
my
that
God.
never really
and
took
then he will celebrate it and say it's going to be the best dual role performance since I don't know, adaptation. It's better than Nick Cage
Gemini Man.
Okay. It wouldn't take much to be better than that, but
yeah,
But it take much to be better than anything.
Army Hammer.
I mean, get Army Hammer in it. Why not? Have him be
that's
the
not what I
feet
meant.
goblin.
No, we're talking about best
Let him be the feet goblin
in the same movie.
I'd say probably best performance since Army Hammer in The Social Network. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but hey, Fast XXX, man. At this point, that franchise is already off the fucking rails. So why not? Just go all out with all Vin Diesel all the time. In that movie, just let him.
All of Vin Diesel projects are pretty much off the rails.
They can drive cars side by side, and skateboard side by side, and whatever the fuck they want to do in that movie.
All right. So do we have? Hold on, but we can keep joking around. Do we have any more thoughts on Mission Impossible? Or are we pretty much wrapped up?
It's already out of theaters, so whatever.
Yeah.
To be out quickly on VOD, quick at the Dracula movie going on VOD next.
But hey, if you're in China, I'm sure it's still playing there because it's doing well there.
No, I'll just say for anybody watching, Gran Turismo is awesome when it comes out. Go see it.
Yeah,
it's
really good.
Really good.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure.
They've done several sneak preview screens.
Oh yeah,
I saw that. I saw the freaking Dracula movie back to back. The way it was supposed to be before the movie Dracula movie.
It opens this coming week. Go see it. I think it's a crowd pleaser. It's going to have good word of mouth. I think it's better than it has a right to be. I like Neil Blomkamp. I will defend Neil Blomkamp, and I think he's back. He does a really.
David Harbour is really good in the movie.
Harbour's great.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap up the show, guys. First off, Chris, Austin, thank you guys for being here. We're going to end the show with something a little different, so I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in the back, but I appreciate you both for being here tonight discussing films with us. We'll go ahead and take you guys out. So obviously, a lot of people are aware we've been off the air for the last month. Essentially, it was... You okay over there?
Yeah, no, I'm okay. It's been a while.
Yeah, essentially, it was just consistent scheduling issues. I went on vacation. Matt was moving for a while, and then obviously moving means you have to work extra. I went on vacation and came back and was working extra. So schedules have just been a bit tighter. And in general, as we're coming out of the summer movie season, we're going to start going back into a period where, obviously the strikes are still on, so movie news is becoming more and more scarce as things go along. The further we sit in the strike, the less and less is being done. And I can only talk about the next rumored Johnny Storm actor so many times. By the way, the latest one is Joseph Quinn.
Cat Damon to be Johnny Storm. That's Cat Damon. Ben
But
Catflick is a dick.
yeah, so movie news is coming less and less, and we're reaching the point now as we get into the fall season where movies in general, there's not going to be a big movie every single week that's worth talking about. As we joked earlier, last week's was The Voyage of the Demeter. No one saw it. Sorry to all you Corey
Dracula on a boat.
Hawkins fans. As the two guys in the back are parading that they both saw it. I didn't ask you to see it.
I saw too.
Okay. The movie
Dracula on a boat, man.
The movie made $6 million. Half of you are in this call right now. So with that,
Yeah. Say I bought all the tickets. I did giveaways, but nobody wanted to go.
I did not see it. So with that said, though, you know, movies are going to be coming less and less, and so it becomes harder to plan a show like this every week. And so Matt and I have come to the decision that we're not going to make this a weekly show anymore. At the minimum, it'll happen at least once a month, maybe bi-weekly in certain months if there's more to talk about or if a couple big movies have come out. Now, we still want to put content onto the channel. The views on Movie Battleground have gone up and they've stayed consistent, and people are watching, which I appreciate. People have been watching this show, which I appreciate. I expected no one to watch this when we do it, and we've had some episodes push 100 views, which for this channel, and considering most people watching are within this community, that's really good, which I appreciate people watching.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're still going to put stuff out on the channel. We're going to try a couple different ideas and see what we like doing and what other people like doing. We have ideas for shows, but this will become something that will be a little less regular. And then when we do it, it'll be a little more like this, where it'll push 3, maybe a little longer hours. It'll be sort of a general wrap up of all the biggest things, because not everyone necessarily wants to talk about the smallest films. Not everybody cares. You know, I've pulled news stories in the past that are smaller scale and might make for interesting conversation, and then it doesn't really pan out. So when you only have that news every week, you know, not everybody wants to talk about that news. And so I think readjusting what we upload in addition to Movie Battleground will be potentially better for the channel, and it'll make when we do these more entertaining, because it'll give us something like this where we had 5 big varied movies. None of these movies were like the other, that we can talk about and sort of just have great fun conversation with the people in this community. And so that'll be the move going forward. I will do better now that we're changing the schedule up about making sure people know what's coming on what weeks. So it'll be known when we're going to do one of these versus when we'll be trying something else in the future. But with that said, next week we won't be doing one of these. We may not have some of the other ideas we've had ready to go up, so there may not be anything on a Saturday, but we're going to get other stuff together and start trying other stuff. And then at the minimum, we'll be back this time next month to do another catch-up casual. But with that said, again, thank you to the panel. Of course, Chris and Austin, who are here to the end. Thank you to Jordan. Thank you to Malcolm, who are here for a large chunk of the show as well. Thank you to everybody for checking everything out. And with all that said, guys, till the next time, we'll see you. Take care. And continue supporting the movies. I know we've been big advocates for a strike, but again, still at no point is seeing a movie in theaters opposing anybody who is striking. So support the films that are in theaters, support the writers, support the actors that are striking, and let's just hope to continue that more good films come out. Till the next time, take care, everybody. See ya.